5, 4. Gather around, freaks. It's John Carpenter's birthday. So we're talking about his first ever movie. So gather around the internet fire and gather around the internet radio because it's time for. Hey, did you see this one?
The year is 2024, and two friends once again invite you to join them in revisiting or discovering for the first time the masterworks of a filmmaker who transcends genre, whose horrors have lurked in the dark, broken free from the ice, crawled straight from hell, or even pulled themselves from the very pits of a mad mind, who showed us the hidden corners of Chinatown, sent a man from the stars, and dragged us to New York, LA, and even Mars. Nearly unmatched as a genre filmmaker. Once again, Hey, Did You See This One? Invites you to look upon the works of a genius. We present to you John Carpenter's In the Month of Madness.
You have to keep in mind that being a director doesn't mean that you're making what you want to make. More often than not, as a director, you're an employee working for the producer, and you're doing what they want in your style as they see fit. I think over time, he became cynical because he was being forced to make bigger movies with a larger budget, but not a budget large enough to make the movie that people wanted him to make, because he did so well with lower budgets, with like Escape from New York. I think if you want a John Carpenter film to be successful, give him the minimal amount of money that he needs to tell the story that he wants, that he's happy with, and give it a wider release. The people are there to pay for it, and they will go watch it. Like, there are so many fans of his early stuff. It's as his budgets expanded, as the expectations grew to be blockbusters, to be crazy action films. He's not an action director. He's a drama, he's a horror director. So when you're expecting multi-million-dollar box office results from somebody who's not specialized in doing what you're expecting them to draw, what do you think is going to happen? Just let him do what he's good at, give it a wider release. In the end, it's going to be cheaper, and you're going to see a bigger profit off of it.
I think that he also sort of became disillusioned by the fact that, you know, he's very creative. He has a good understanding of how to like put a person on screen, and is responsible for several people becoming really famous in their careers. But he also was met with people having been so impacted by his own movies that people started making John Carpenter movies that were better than John Carpenter movies that he could make. And like he would see movies that reminded him so much of his own movies that he was like, I think that there is a younger generation now that are making the same things that I would like to make, but they're making it better.
One of those people.
He's watching his craft be perfected by people that were inspired by him, which, you know, probably
you
feels
happy about that, and he can like sit back.
Well, I was gonna say it's probably like a double-edged sword, where he's probably happy about the fact that he's influenced people to make something that he would love to make, but seeing them make it better than him is like, well, I'm not needed here anymore. Like, my job is done. Like, I've seen what I would want to make and how I'd want to make it being made better than maybe I could have made it.
That's
and, like,
an amazing point I never considered.
And it's kind of sad, but at the same time, it's like kind of nice, you know. Like it means that, you know, he has like a nice lush career. He made what, like 19, 20 movies, something like that, and each and every one of them has clearly inspired somebody, because you can almost pinpoint a singular moment in any one of his movies that has been either homaged or completely ripped off or like redone in a loving way, and like that's pretty fucking cool.
It's pretty fucking cool.
Pretty fucking cool.
2022 Steve was looking pretty hot.
It's true. We were all skinny from the pandemic, or fat from the pandemic. I was know.
Fat was what it is. Is it just I filled myself out a little bit. I look muscular, but I'm just fat in that video.
Just a little bit extra
it's
weight
fine.
From drinking beer and eating.
It was also summer, or no, it wasn't. Was it summer? It was January.
It was January.
Why was I not all bundled like I am now? It's because I'm skinny again, and I'm now freezing all the time.
Mm-hmm. It's true. That's true. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Hey, Did You See This One, the weekly review reaction roundtable discussion podcast, where you just have to ask the question, hey, did you see this one? We are a show that essentially takes a movie, completely pulls it apart, and leaves no stone. We take movie and leave it no stone unturned. This week, it is the third week of John Carpenter's In the Month of Madness, the month where we talk about John Carpenter films. It's the final time that we're going to do this because...
Oh, shit.
Michael Myers is here. It's the final time we're going to do this because we've done them all. We've done the last 3 years. We've talked about all the main movies. So he's got some made for TV stuff, but we don't really do made for TV here, unless it's that James Dean movie we did a couple of years ago. Anyway, I'd like to say
against doing. It's like, we're not doing this. I don't want to do this, James.
I don't want to talk about that movie.
Yeah,
but we are, of course, talking about Dark Star from 1974, starring a bunch of unknowns. Really, I don't think these guys were in much else. We'll talk about that in production talk probably. I would like to also say that it is John Carpenter's birthday today, January 16th. Yep.
Happy birthday, John Carpenter.
Happy birthday, John Carpenter. I tagged you in a bunch of...
died today, which is very sad.
It's crazy. What a day.
Chucky, rude.
So this is a very special episode about a very special movie. Noel, are you there? What's happening? Welcome back to the show. For I believe
I'm here. I was
believe
eating dinner during the love letter.
Oh yeah, you love changing your name 1,000 times during the episode. I forgot about that, which is fantastic. I love that. But welcome Noel K back to the show for I believe the 9th time. So welcome back. You haven't been here since June, since Feminist Masterpiece Theater, since we became misogynists directly after that month, and we said no more women. Except for all the women
you
that we had on the show.
The manosphere,
yeah, we're actually incel pickup artists.
We started smoking
now.
Cigars every episode for a little while, and I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, coughed up 10 lungs.
Yeah,
but welcome back to the show.
Also, I advertise my boner pills this episode. This is actually just Vicks Vapor Rub.
Vapor Rub.
Yeah.
I rub it on my throat sometimes when I'm working because my throat gets really sore from doing wacky voices all day, and it helps. It helps soothe the cords.
Have a nice green tea and some Vicks Vapor Rub.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I gotta show you guys my Stanley. 1 second.
You're what?
Oh,
Oh, you get a
for
Barbie
some reason,
Stanley Cup?
I thought you were gonna pull out like a weird like marionette of Stan Lee, like the Marvel Comics Stan Lee. Like, hey, how's it going, kids? Yeah.
He's dressed like he came back from a party and he's like, I got a great idea. He's all green. I got a great idea for a guy that goes real mad and he turns green. And Jack Kirby's like, not again. He
Stan,
just stares off
stop ripping your shirt off in the office.
into the void. That's
It's
right.
really nice to be back. So thanks.
I appreciate you coming back. Yes.
Lucy, do you
All
want to say hi?
We need to see a dog now. We need to see a cat
Oh, that's
now.
a beautiful dog.
What a great dog you have there.
Every
Dog
single
hates being
guest
on
who has a
the
cat on our show has a black cat.
It's true.
I've noticed.
Do you have two guests?
We
and
have
is with cats, and is one of them Tim?
one's Tim, and then Cass also has a little black cat named Luna.
Yeah, because Cass is a witch. Person,
Actually, I don't know about Mike. I don't think we've ever seen his cat. We just hear it. Is it also black?
That's a good question. Could be.
We just
Probably.
hear it in the background going like, like it's one of those ones that you're like, how big is that cat? It sounds
19
humongous.
feet. 19 feet if it's an inch is a thing.
Anyway, we should probably start talking about this movie, right?
Yeah, this of course
Do we have
is
to?
the
Yeah.
segment of the show where we have to do a quick synopsis of the film. Zardos.
But before we talk about that, I also had black cats growing up. Ben Kenobi was his full name. And then we also had Smudge. He was called Smudge because he had a little tiny white patch on his chest that looked like a smudge. When I was a kid, I was like, he has a smudge on him. He has a smudge on his chest. So we called him Smudge.
And your parents are like, oh, he's a dullard.
No. They
No,
probably
I'm
should have
sorry.
checked me out for other stuff.
I had two black cats growing up as well, Mitzi and Buster. Mitzi was the mom and Buster was the son. Mitzi left one day and never came home, and Buster.
Oh,
well,
those sounds like really creative names for a child to come up with, Jason. How'd you come up with those names?
I didn't come up with that at all. My mom did. And like Mitzi's like a mom and Buster's like a brother. Because the sister was named Sissy. Okay, let's not talk about the creativity of cat names. Let's see if Zardos is around. Zardos.
Zardos, are you here?
Zardos speaks to you.
He does.
He demands you synopsize this film. Tell him how, why, who, what occurs in this film.
Lightning bolt, lightning bolt, lightning bolt. If you want that picture and more, you can get it put on a shirt. I uploaded it to Redbubble and TeePublic today, so you can go put that on a shirt. Oh, there.
Oh my God,
there-
what was that?
Good.
Sure.
Zed.
That was my ash.
Steve, why don't you give us a quick synopsis this week?
Sure. So the movie Dark Star, John Carpenter's technically first theatrical film, even though it only had like a very tiny release of I think 50 theaters, is about a crew of, they're kind of like office workers but on a spaceship, and they're on their 20th year of their journey into space, in which they do a pretty mundane job, which is of course blowing up rogue planets. The job sounds crazy, but you know, they treat it as though it's kind of, you know, mind numbing, as though any office job would eventually could be exciting in the first few months, but after you do it for 20 years, you're like, okay, back to the office. We've got to find a rogue planet and blow it up before it flies into a sun and goes supernova. But the movie is more so sort of like a micro examination of each of the crew members and how this 20-year journey has affected them differently. And you know, it is kind of interesting how it's affected each one of them almost completely differently, but we've got a little bit of, you know, sort of like belly fat in the middle that is just there to kind of like flesh out the characters more or less and not really progress any sort of story. But the culmination of that is one of the crew members chases a little beach ball alien around for a while, and the other one is having sort of an existential crisis with one of the other crew members in like an observation bubble, and the other one is just shooting shit because he's bored, I guess. And there's a computer who is also, I guess, in charge of all of the main operations of the ship, but also sort of the last line of defense in terms of anything that goes wrong on the ship. But she's malfunctioned, and the bombs on the ship also have personalities, which is fun, I guess. And one of the bombs keeps malfunctioning to try and launch itself without direct order to do it, and that becomes sort of the climax of the movie, as well as sort of the end of the movie, which is them trying to talk a bomb down from detonating while it's essentially inside the ship. And yeah, that's basically the movie. It's just a very simple and not really short, but just a simple story about a bunch of people working their office job on a spaceship blowing up planets and how it goes horribly wrong for them.
And that's pretty much the movie, episode 168 in the can. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. No, that's absolutely right. There is lots to talk about in the movie. The first thing that we are going to go through, though, is the production talk of it all.
All right. Quiet on set. Are we rolling? Okay, let's shoot this piece of shit. Sound. Speed. Action!
That's right. This movie, of course, is directed by none other than John Carpenter, written by Dan O'Bannon and John Carpenter. Dan O'Bannon known for Alien, John Carpenter known from his wealth of work, which we've covered on the show. I just learned that Pinback is played by Dan O'Bannon. The other actors in this movie, of course, are Dre Pinch, Panache, Brian Narelle, Cal. Why do these people have crazy last names? Cal Kuniholm.
A lot of them are named after the literary stuff that this movie is riffing on or referencing, and so they're sometimes they don't make sense or you haven't heard them before because it's like an amalgamation of multiple names. It's them being clever film students, because this movie was started as a student film. Was
it? I would never have guessed that this was a student film.
It started as a student film, I think about 15 minutes long, and it eventually got funding, if you can call it that, to get to feature length. And then it was released in festivals and did quite well critically, but in its theatrical run, I think there's stories of like Dan O'Bannon and Carpenter going to watch it with just random crowds to see what the reaction is, and both of them were like, "Oh fuck, people don't think we're funny. We should never make a comedy ever again." And it took them a while to do a comedy.
This is a comedy?
This is allegedly a comedy.
Listen,
It's definitely satire on the genre for sure. I really enjoy the fact that it was a $60,000 film, and you can definitely see that it was that, but they got their money's worth for sure. There's a lot of great, just matte paintings moving on each other. I think they use miniatures at one point. I'm not 100% sure. Steve probably knows a little bit better than I do about that.
Oh, yeah, they definitely use miniatures, but also
this is the spaceship. This is my
yeah.
Oh my gosh. I thought you were playing a clip from the movie for a second.
See?
Yeah. But I mean, in the movie's defense, Dan O'Bannon did a lot of the special effects himself and model making, and these are, it is very much a student film in the sense that they did everything themselves, and it shows, but it also kind of adds to the charm of the movie, I suppose. I haven't seen this since I was a film student, and I'm glad that we decided to eventually go back to it, because the first time I watched this, I was like, oh my God, this is fucking terrible. I'll tell you a story. I'll regale you with a story, shall I? We went to this party when I was in school, and we all were meant to bring our favorite director's first movie. So a bunch of people brought, Wes Anderson, Spielberg, someone brought The Duel, and somebody brought, I think, Bottle Rocket or whatever the fuck. But a bunch
Did
of people.
anyone bring a woman's movie?
Well, I mean, actually, the group was fairly diverse, but I don't think that anybody. I can't recall, to be honest. I think somebody brought what's that fucking Catherine Bigelow vampire movie, Dark Side or something like that. I can't remember what it's called, but I think somebody brought that. And I brought THX because I'm a fucking dullard, as Jason called me a couple of minutes ago, and I'm never going to forget for the rest of my life.
I said I was sorry.
THX is George Lucas's first movie, or his like student film that got turned into a theatrical release, or theatrical. Anyway, yeah, and he was still obsessing about it even up until like 15 years ago when he's like, I'm re-releasing it with all updated effects, and I'm like, okay, George, calm down, George. But yeah, that was the first time I watched this because somebody brought this and was like, John Carpenter, and I was like, I know John Carpenter's name, but I'm not familiar with everything. And then they would list off things, and I'm like, I haven't seen 90% of this. And now John Carpenter is one of my favorite movie makers.
I've seen 100% of his films multiple times.
At this point, yes. But yeah, I didn't really give it a fair shake at the time because I was like, it looks like shit, and it's not funny, and it's not scary, and I don't really know what it's supposed to be doing. But little did I know I should have been paying very close attention because this is, an example of a student film that has the potential to become a theatrical release and did. And, I can respect it for that. As much as it's not the best movie, I'm not going to recommend this to everybody, but I'll definitely recommend it to film buffs who haven't seen it, or people who consider themselves film buffs or fans of John Carpenter that haven't gone through his entire catalog. It is worth your time. And it's not super long, and I did find it funny. Like, I was surprised at how much funnier I found it now than I did when I was 19 or 18 or whenever I watched it for the first time.
I can see that. So it was a $60,000 film. Do you happen to? I couldn't find any information on its box office, but you said it was mostly just in festivals.
Yeah, it didn't really have a box office. I'm sure that there are numbers that you can find of its VHS and DVD and Blu-ray, because I do think it had releases for all those. It even had the soundtrack even had a vinyl re-release in like 2016 or something, where it had, because the movie doesn't have a lot of soundtrack. It's basically sort of a really simple Carpenter synth score for the original soundtrack, and then also that song that plays at the beginning and end is also a John Carpenter track.
Yeah, Benson, Arizona, which is a full-on country track, which is actually pretty good considering. I didn't know that John Carpenter actually made like songs with lyrics.
Well, I believe
he co-wrote it with somebody.
I believe Dan O'Bannon and a bunch of other people from his film school were in a band together. So they're just like, let's just make the music, and we'll like bang, 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 bang.
Well, it'll cost you less.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why John Carpenter always did it. He's like, I'm going to do it myself because it's not going to cost me $20,000 to hire, John Williams to come in and be like, imagine a John Carpenter movie with a non-John Carpenter score. And you know what? We did talk about it the other week when we did the thing where he got somebody to come in, a very famous composer, and Mark Coney, and he basically just made a John Carpenter score. He's like, I want it to sound like all my other movies. Can you do this for me? But yeah, he did all the music for this, and I think that re-release in 2016 also had dialogue from the movie and sound effects from the movie, just because they're like, we don't have enough to warrant the $50 price tag on this record, so let's just put a bunch of random other stuff in there that can entertain people.
I'd love to have that in my collection, but it would probably get very minimal play.
Yeah, but the funny thing that I was reading about for this was that it did get injected with money to get to feature length, but then they were having trouble distributing it. So they found a producer who was willing to add more, but then he watched it and he's like, there's like 30 minutes in the middle that it's just absolute nonsense and boring. And also we need to make it a G rating. So you need to get rid of all this swearing and nudity. So we're going to cut all that. And then I'm going to give you a budget to go back and film to get it back up to 90 minutes so we can release it in theaters. And so like Dan O'Bannon, after watching the cut, he was like, what have we done? I can't believe we've butchered our baby. And he was like, what's the exact line? He had a funny, like, he called it like, hold on a second. Hold on. I'm sorry. I should have written it down. He called it, we had what would have been the world's most impressive student film, and it became the world's least impressive professional film.
Yeah,
because they cut out all the stuff that was good. And
that's
all the
pretty
stuff.
Funny.
Yeah.
You want to have even a mid student film more than the worst professional film.
And it's like they just made it super tame for, and you know, like it is still, you know, there nothing crazy happens that makes you like on edge to have it be thrilling or scary, and the humor is not humorous enough to have you chuckling throughout the entire thing. And some of the jokes, you're like, I get it, and it keeps going and going and going. And usually something like that, you know, when he's like stuck in the hatch, for example, you're like, oh, he's too fat to get through the hatch, funny. But then
that's
like
like
it just
10
keeps
minutes
going.
long.
You're like, oh my god, Pinback, just
Jason?
get out.
Yeah,
I think Steve told us this story 4 years ago.
I did.
it's possible. So we'll get to the brief history. I have a
You
a note to
say-
about that.
I think it was 4 years ago. Then I say,
Oh,
Noel's quoting the movie.
that's funny because I think that
We're
Steve
both
literally-
dullards.
Yeah, we're all dullards. Welcome to
and
the
then
dullard
I
hour.
say, that's what I said.
And I keep telling
And
the
then there's
story
a
while you're talking.
pause.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then I say, it was 4 years ago.
Right.
Yeah. And then after we're done, I go and I make a video journal being like, I was trying to raise morale earlier by telling a humorous anecdotal story, and they didn't even laugh. It was my birthday last week, and nobody said happy birthday to me.
I absolutely can. I can see in this film. I can feel the camera a lot more than you can in movies typically. When they do these zoom in shots, I can almost like, I don't know how to explain it. Does this make sense? You can
I know
you
what
can
you're saying,
feel
yeah.
that you're watching through a camera where usually they kind of hide that. A higher quality camera won't kind of show that, but it's not quite shaky cam, but it really feels like you're watching a camera zoom in.
It's
and that happens.
because
It was claustrophobic, is
that's
how
exactly
I describe it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. You can tell that the camera is being squeezed into a space that is too small for the camera and the actors to be in there, and it's not giving enough breadth for you to understand the scope of the room you're in, which I don't think necessarily hurts the movie, because they're essentially supposed to be on like a submarine almost, right? Where it's like it is supposed to feel very tight and claustrophobic, because that's what it is. The hallways are narrow on those are sets. They could have made them as wide as they wanted to, but they decided to make them super narrow. But yeah, it's good for the visual, but it's bad for the vibe, because it makes you just think about the camera a lot. You're like, how'd they get that camera in there? I wonder. It's probably humongous. There's probably a guy. It's one of those ones where guy's sitting in it and he's just like, I can't quite move it. But yeah,
I never once thought about the camera.
no.
Am I?
It was just
I
obvious
didn't
to
really-
me during certain parts, and I was just like, this feels like weird.
I didn't really
different
think
than
about it
normal.
until Jason was talking about it, but I can understand the thought. And there is a bit of like jostle here and there, but that's just, you know, that's it being, they only have 1-2 max takes that they can do for each shot, because they only have a certain amount of film, because their fucking budget is teeny tiny and they can't be wasting film to worry about the dolly accidentally messed up or whatever when they're going down the hallway. So they just have to use it. Sorry, I thought you were going to say something because you took a breath.
I also thought I was going to say something, but I don't want to sit around and say shitty things about this movie that I don't hate. But what I was going to say is they didn't have to ever reshoot anything, because if there was an error in the background, your eyes were drifting off of the movie anyway, and you would have been watching it, and then you would come back when something actually happened about 10 minutes later.
Yeah. I thought you were going to just make like a critique, but I know you're going to just straight up give the middle finger to the movie like that.
That is one of like my main problems with the movie, though. And Steve, you mentioned it a few minutes ago, where it's like they just keep going on and on with certain things because they're clearly trying to fill out time, and sometimes it's not even like a joke continuing. It's just like the longest shot of something ever, like when he's dealing with the alien in the hatch before he does the elevator stuff. But that part reminds me of Alien, which
that was the funniest part of the movie, when he walks out and he's just stuck in the
and he has the
escape hatch. Yeah.
I think Jason's talking about when he walks into the alien chamber or whatever, and it's just a really long, right? Is that what you're talking about, Jason? Where he walks in?
No, I was talking about the elevator shaft, but you're right about that as well.
The elevator shaft is That, I mean, that when he's pressing the buttons and stuff, though, but then it's like playing music, and like I think that's a funny gag, and I think the gag of him being stuck was going on for too long. Like maybe he should have got out, and then something even weirder happens. Like the door closes on him or something, and now he's
No,
stuck
man,
half in and out.
stop critiquing the one part of the movie that I think was fun.
Is good. Okay. Yeah, all right. You win.
It went on just the right amount of time. Watching him reach for one, I was sitting there like absolutely thrillingly being like, is he actually going to hit one?
Will he do it? Yeah.
I didn't believe it at first.
And I like those shots of like his hand, like clearly his hand is right under the camera and he's like reaching for the phone and he's like, I can't quite reach it.
It's like 1 centimeter away.
Also, his character up to this point is like presented as very pathetic, and like he has to go feed the alien because he decided that the ship needed a mascot for some reason. Our ship needs a mascot. And it's like, shit, Pinback, if we're going to bring this thing on board, you have to take care of it. Like a kid with a dog, like you have to walk it every day and feed it. And Pinback, because he's not a child, actually has to do it. But I know what you mean, Jason, about like, it reminded you of Alien, but the difference is that, Ridley Scott is also a director of photography in his own right. So he knows really what he's kind of like one of those guys that's fully formed out the gate because he had so many commercial experiences beforehand where his whole thing was photography, which then led into visual storytelling. So when you watch something like Alien, even though he has a DP, he's very involved in making sure that every shot is perfect. And like the shot of him walking into the room where the alien is versus the shot in Alien, the movie, when they first show like the egg chamber. Yeah, they're a little different. One's a little bit better than the other.
One looks like a modern film 45 years later, and this movie looks like it was made in 1974 by 4 dudes at film school.
Yeah, the primary difference between Alien and this one is Ridley Scott.
Yeah, truth. That's a really good.
That's the primary difference. That's the only difference.
Do you think Ridley Scott could have turned this into something?
The millions and millions of additional dollars that he had to be able to shoot something.
But Ridley Scott could have turned this into something more,
Well, I mean, clearly Ridley Scott saw this and was like, this is fucking brilliant. And then hired Dan O'Bannon to help him with fucking Alien, right?
Yeah.
It's not brilliant.
No, I agree. I think that our favorite director that we always talk about every time Noel is on, Quentin Tarantino, said that it's a masterpiece. He said this is a masterpiece of filmmaking.
Noted foot fetishist Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, he
Noted
said
hack Quentin Tarantino.
Hey, whoa. Yeah.
I like his movies.
Once Upon a Time in
Once Upon a Time on this podcast.
Yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was middling. Do we want to talk about our brief history?
Spoken like a man who's seen it once.
I have, and I will go to my grave saying that, I didn't like Leo's character. He likes
he should have been
children.
more gay.
They should. Him and Brad Pitt should have kissed.
I mean, I think so. I think they should have been secretly sucking each other's wieners, but that's just me. Listen, it happened in Hollywood all the time. Why not in that movie?
That's true.
Tarantino needs to have a strong gay character in his last movie, or I'll be upset. He's never even had one.
Instead, he's like, let's make Bruce Lee an asshole.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not the movie we're here to talk about. Do you want to do our brief history? Do you have anything else about the production of this film you'd like to mention?
I mean, I do have lots, but I'll just keep sprinkling it in throughout the actual conversation.
Brief histories.
A brief history.
Whoops.
What?
Yeah. So I had never heard of. I've never heard of this movie. You said, which one do you want to do? And you gave me 2 choices. And one of them, I was like, absolutely no way. I'll do this one. It sounds fun. And then I watched it on my commute home today.
On a phone?
Fine.
I never watch any of the movies that we do on anything other than a phone.
Oh. I was going to say, John Carpenter would be rolling around in his grave.
Why is this so claustrophobic? Why is this movie so dark? I can't tell.
Yeah.
Why is it?
Man, the camera is so unstable. You're on a train. It's such a stability of the camera. Wow.
Somebody's in my way. I'm holding it like this. Then I have to make it even smaller when I have to actually search for the plot. I was like Googling the synopsis and all of that because Jason wouldn't tell me if they all died at the end, and I needed to know that.
I'm not going to just spoil the movie for you while you're watching it.
So I had to spoil it myself, and I didn't have time to stop the movie and
That's
then
your prerogative.
Google it.
Right.
No, yeah. I mean, that is my history with it. That's how I watch a lot of movies, though. So it's not a.
I feel like out of all of our guests on this show, there are 3 that I thought maybe would have seen this movie already. One is Tim, one is Ben, and one was you. I was like, maybe Noel has seen this. This is like something that maybe Noel would have like artifact somehow, like just been like, yeah. But I also don't know how you feel about Carpenter movies in general. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, you are like self-labeled and very obviously nerdy. So I'm like, I feel like you would know.
I see some debris. I see some debris.
I'm going to grab it.
The debris from the spaceship is going past me.
Well, if you're going to be that one, I'll be the one who gets taken away by magical asteroids that travel me around the universe for the rest of time or whatever.
The ending of this movie sealed the movie for me. I will say we'll get to that when we get
I
to
liked the end as well. But no, I hadn't. John Carpenter is I haven't seen any one of his movies all the way through, let alone many.
Right.
And it's mostly because I can't deal with psychological dramas, horror, and weird stuff. And that's not a
that's like his whole shit.
I know.
His whole
and that's not a taste thing. That's it messes with my brain thing.
Right.
Like the closest I come, like this one was fine, and They Live is him too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those 2 are fine, but then anything that's like beyond that. So I'm afraid of his whole filmography because I'm like, am I going to be able to sleep for like the rest of am I going to be like, is it going to split my psyche in 2? Because that's what happens. Like it launches me into psychosis. And then for like a week, I'm just floating above myself being like, remember that movie that you watched? And then I start seeing stuff. And it's just not good.
The cryo,
which is crazy that you can watch They Live. That one's like the most like that. The most like sort of like driven to like, I mean, in terms of like, I've seen his whole filmography and like you are wary about it. I could give you some recommendations that I don't think will fuck with you. If you're good with They Live, then you'll be good with a couple of the other ones, I think.
Okay, because They Live only survived for me because I haven't watched it all the way through, and all I was watching was the wrestler.
Yeah.
Okay. Right?
Roddy
You're
Piper.
like, I love this wrestler. He's the best. I was watching Keith David the whole time because he's the best. I love him so much.
I was watching the weird aliens through the glass.
We did Invisible Man last week, the memoirs of an Invisible Man, and I was like, I forgot that I wanted to bring up a segment being like, clearly Chevy Chase was not the greatest choice for this role. Who would have been better? And I wanted to have like a round table, like who would you pick? Who would you pick? Who would you pick? And we didn't really do that. But I think that
I had that in my notes last week too. That's funny that you say that.
But I think out of all of his regulars, John Carpenter's regulars, I would be like, put Keith David as the main guy. Like give him the starring role because like he's been in his movies as a supporting character so often. But I would argue that in They Live, you tweak the edit slightly and Keith David is the main character of that movie.
I don't trust people who have 2 first names as their full name.
Oh.
Okay. Steve, you would
Jason.
talk about
Yeah.
Jason
You
Phillip.
sick fuck. Yeah.
Jason
You're
Robert
an alien, I
Phillip.
know it. Yeah.
I got 3 first names, sort of. Steve, you told that story about the film school party you went to.
Yeah.
What else? Do you have anything to add to your brief history beyond that?
I mean, it was a fun party. We would do that often, right? We would have like a film party where everybody would bring a movie and we would start at like 1 in the afternoon.
That's actually so cool.
It was fun. It was very fun.
Like themed movies like that.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the idea of what we do every month here, but we would do it in the day, and there would be usually like 5 to 10 of us, and everybody would bring a movie, and then we would sort of like vote on what we were going to watch, or we would do like a hat, pull out the hat, and we would pick 4 of them, and we would from like 1 p.m. to like whenever we finished, or whenever we were so drunk that we're like, we're not even watching the movies anymore. Yeah, it was college, guys. But yeah, that was fun, and I ended up watching a lot of stuff that I wouldn't regularly, which is sort of the concept of this show as well, which is like it's always fun to be introduced to something because there's so much that I would never watch if I didn't have to, or if I wasn't recommended it by somebody who's like, you would love this, even though sometimes I have that sort of like that negative reaction when someone's like, you would love this. I'm like, you don't fucking know me. How the hell would you?
It's like when Amazon sends you we thought you might like this. Every single time I see it, I'm like, oh, do you? Amazon?
Yeah,
huh?
you think you know
You think
me?
I'm gonna like
And
that?
what made
Jeff
you do
Bezos?
that?
And then I open it and I'm like, ha, Instapot. Nah, how dare.
It's like when someone tells you to watch a TV show and you refuse to watch it for 8 years and then you finally watch it and you watch it all at once and you're like, yeah, he was right. I did like that.
Never once has anyone recommended something to me and I have been like, no, I won't like that. Like after someone said you should watch Love Actually, you'll like it. I've never trusted anyone ever again.
I mean, before TikToks, before I would send, Steve and Cam, we send TikToks back and forth. Trying to get somebody to watch an internet video was like impossible. Like, watch this. Like, I'll get to it.
Me and Jason used to do like parties where me and him and a couple other people would get together, and usually would like wind down. So it was just me and Jason, like one after another, putting on YouTube videos to try and
meme
crack
compilations.
Each other up. Yeah. Instead of sitting there and having a conversation and just making each other laugh with our natural humor, we would force each other to watch videos to be like, laugh, motherfucker.
Well, the thing is our attention spans, even before TikTok, were a husk. So we would talk and laugh and make each other laugh over it. But we still need that. We still need.
And I'll be like, Jason, what do you think of this video? And he'd be like, it's good. It's fucking good.
It's a student film. Alien is what it is.
It's a triple.
That was
a triple.
You know what's crazy is that is after they were given the budget to expand it. They added that whole thing after. So that beach ball alien is like an addition when they had money.
I love the beach ball alien.
So do I.
Okay, the more we're talking about this, the more I'm liking this movie.
I'll just give you guys my brief history and then we can get to the body so we can talk about the greatest alien ever put to fucking screen. I watched it today, but I will say that Steve has been mentioning this movie to me for literally most of the time I've known him. I feel like, especially doing this show for the last 5 years.
I think even before the show, I've mentioned this movie.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Have you ever seen Dark Star? Yeah.
But the thing is,
crazy. I've
had a representation of what I thought this movie was in my head. I was like, John Carpenter space movie. Only recently did I find out that it is even labeled as a comedy. Mm-hmm. And I saw the poster with like the burly drawn guy who looks like a fabulous freak brother. No, not the Cryo Man. The one that I had up at the beginning of the show.
I have a theory about the poster that I have behind me, by the way, but I don't even think it's really a theory. It's more just like an accurate thing that probably happened for real.
Do you want to hit the theory button and before we get into the
theories?
So this poster is later on. Like this came well after I think Carpenter was already known as like the horror man who made Halloween and the horror man who made Alien. It's like the horror man who wrote Alien and the horror man who made Halloween made a movie together in film school, and it's called Dark Star. And then they made the poster to like trick fools into buying it, right? To be like, whoa, John Carpenter's Dark Star. Look at this weird frozen man. And he is scary looking. Look at him. That's scary. Yeah. And I mean, the theory is not really a theory. It's definitely what happened. The marketing team was like, well, we'll just use this scary image and put it on some movie boxes and people will buy it. And they did. Anyway, yeah, that's my main theory. And in terms of first time watch brief histories, I don't have anything else to add. Jason, yours was this week, yeah?
Yeah, and the fact that you've been I had a completely different.
Yeah, I think it wasn't even until like 2 weeks ago when we started talking about it where you're like, oh, we have all horror movies this month. And I was like, no, we don't. And you're like, yeah, Invisible Man, Dark Star, and you named them all. And I was like, Dark Star and Invisible Man are both technically comedies. And you're like, what? Hold on, what?
I didn't even recognize that Chevy Chase was in the movie till I don't even want to say how long it was before I looked at a poster for it.
5 minutes before you watched it, you're like,
I was like, whoa! I thought this was like a horror, like a straight up horror movie that was like a kind of like Alien. I will say though that
Not a weird thought to have, though. If you're going into John Carpenter's first movie called Dark Star, yeah, you're probably going to think it's spooky.
But the cryo part, when he first goes in before it just becomes comedy again, it did make me like feel weird. Like, ugh. Let's let's go into the body of the episode. We got a little bit to talk about
Do you guys want a short body or a long body?
I like a long body.
Long body.
Everybody back up, because here comes the body of the episode.
Oh, what's this?
That's when they said the name of the movie in the movie.
My God.
22. They never. Okay. I don't think they say it ever. Maybe the computer says it. I don't think but it's written all over the movie. It's one of those movies where it's, the name of the ship, so it's in the movie. But 22 seconds in, we see Dark Star. I think it's during the right before the credits. So I just wanted to get that out of the way right away. Because last week there's no part where Chevy Chase looks at the camera and says, "And those are my memoirs of an invisible man," which I think
he does say that. He says it right at the beginning. He says, "All right, for the record, this is my memoir of me being an invisible man," and then he chatters his weird painted teeth.
Let me set the scene. You covered it pretty good in the synopsis. Thanks, Zardos. But essentially, the starship Dark Star is on a long mission to destroy unstable planets that pose threats to future colonization. The rogue planets that are going to go out of the orbit and potentially hit the star in their system. We meet the crew, Commander Powell, who died. We'll find out about him in a minute. Lieutenant Doolittle, Sergeant Pinback, Boiler, and Talby. And the first thing that's happening is the crew is sort of prepping for another planet's destruction with bomb number 20, and it's given its countdown. And that's pretty much how the movie begins. If I get into my notes here, we get that first little video.
Yes, can someone explain that to me?
Earth government being like, look, you've been telling us about all your problems for years and years. You need a new radiation shield, but good luck out there.
On the budget. Also, it takes 10 years for the messages to get there, I think is what he mentions. He's like, you guys are getting further and further away, considering this message took 10 years to get here. And I'm like, 10 years? That means they've only sent a couple, or maybe they were more frequent when they were closer or something. And I don't really... I know that it would mean that they were incredibly far out, but they also have like a weird...
But the science doesn't science.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really think about it because they have some sort of drive that makes them go faster, right? They activate it at one point that like it shoots them really quickly across space. No explanation really as to how it works, which I'm fine with. I really don't give a frick.
If you're sciencing the science in this movie, you can't be helped.
There isn't any.
A bunch of college students and film school are
the science
space comedy.
The science in this movie caps out when he's like, and then I popped him and he just kind of flew around like he was full of gas. How could he be alive if he was just full of gas, guys?
I like how they're drinking melted freezies.
Yes,
I love their food. Okay, sorry, that's
but it's ham. It's not melted freezies. It's ham. It's a ham dinner.
Man, those guys in the 70s just took a bunch of I love their space food. Like Luke has space food. I don't know.
Oh my God,
space food.
This is another thing where I'm like, it's so obvious that I'm autistic. Is I have a wooden spoon that I use to eat stew with because it makes me feel like I'm Luke Skywalker in Empire Strikes Back when he's eating the stew that Yoda gives him. And I only use it for stew. I don't use it for anything else. It's when a stew comes out, so does the wooden
How much
spoon.
Stew are you eating?
Enough that I use the spoon multiple times a year.
Did you know that the architect Moriyama, who did the Ontario Science Center, the War Memorial, Battershoe Museum, and various other the Scarborough City Hall, he was burned terribly in his stew accident when he was a child before he was put into a Japanese internment camp.
Oh my
Jesus.
God. That story kept getting worse.
It was
and
an
worse.
accident? The stew accident was an accident. It wasn't like somebody did it on purpose.
Yeah, it was an accident.
I'd also like to give a quick shout out. We had another guest that was supposed to be on this week, whose name is Stu. He couldn't make it. He had a comedy show that he had to go and do tonight.
Every time Stu comes over, I bring out the wooden spoon, if you know what I'm talking about.
So you bash him,
Ooh!
and then burn him with the stew. Rest in peace.
No. Stu's, he's no longer with us on this mortal plane. I took him out with Stu. Stu died via Stu.
I'm going to clip this and it's going to get 0 views.
Yeah.
John Carpenter uses some interesting camera angles. We kind of talked about that in the production talk, but this is when I started to notice sort of the cracks in the cinematography, and also the communication sound like just kind of dies at one point, and I was like, how bad is this movie going to be? But then it kind of levels out, kind of evens out. You kind of get used to everything in the movie and how it is. Meeting these characters, they all have very distinct personalities. Captain Doolittle, it's kind of over it. Pinback is like, I'm a kind of a try-hard. Boiler's kind of like the Chad like doofus. Talby, the introspective guy.
Yeah, I forgot to mention Talby. The actor had like a really thick accent, and that's why he sounds dubbed, because he is dubbed. He's dubbed by John Carpenter. John Carpenter himself.
Okay.
Isn't he also the dead guy's voice?
No. That is
No, that's
Joe Saunders.
Saunders.
Yeah, but he's uncredited. Yeah, so which is kind of weird, which is like, why not just let the guy have an accent? But I think maybe it was like an issue where they're like, no, we just can't understand what he's saying. We need to.
What was his accent? Was it Russian?
I don't know. I didn't look up the accent.
Maybe it was, the 70s, the Iron Curtain was up.
No, it says the dead guy's voice was John Carpenter.
No, I got.
I only have him as Talby, but I mean, I could be wrong. It says Joe Saunders played Commander Powell.
Yes, he played him, and then
the voice was
voice.
Okay, right. Sorry, yeah, I don't have.
Yeah, not believing women, eh?
No, I didn't know what you meant. Now I do.
I don't know what we need.
But also, I just want you guys to know that John Carpenter also did the voice of Joe Saunders. I came up with that, and it was me, Stephen Waters, not
Stephen Waters.
I think it was 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Noel. I just didn't understand what you meant.
I'm kidding.
I know. I'm just trying to make sure I don't get canceled. Even though I think canceled is canceled now. You can't cancel anybody.
I don't think you can cancel. I think they're bringing back the R word and everything.
I mean, I know I am. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
So it's funny that you're talking about settling into the cinematography and all that. I guess I just suspend my disbelief when I'm going into movies, because I don't unless I'm watching it with the lens of I'm critically viewing this to see what the whatever is, or it's really, really obvious. Mm-hmm. When it comes to movies in the 70s, I just don't assume there's cinematography at all, or that it's a thing, or any there's a whole period of movies. This one, I didn't think about that. It was just boring. That was the primary thing. I was like, this is just plain boring. I don't mind the cinematography. I don't mind the drawings or the little spaceship floating by. All that's pretty charming. Yeah. It's all very, very charming. And I would rather that than today's CGI.
Yeah, me too. I watched Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny last night, and there are so many moments in that movie where my brain just starts to meander and melt inside itself when it's just CGI gobbledygook. And then there's moments
it's a product of the time for sure.
And then there's moments where it's visceral action sets, people flying around, and I'm like, this is so much more interesting, and I'm actually engaged. In this movie, I think it is in that sort of no man's land between the 50s and 60s, where everything sort of had a set style. This is how you make a picture. You have the whole room and you show the whole room because we spent $1 million on this set. You got to make sure you see the whole thing at the same freaking time over here. And then you get to the Spielberg era and the Lucas era and the Scorsese era and the Coppola era, where they're no, the camera has a language and you have to be able to use it and tell the story with the movement of the camera and the framing, and everything matters. And it changes. And this is sort of they have the sensibilities of the new age of filmmaking, but they're still reading from the book of the old ways of making stuff.
They
So it
also
has
had
a little bit of both.
no money.
They had
and
no
were
money. Yeah.
students.
That's true. Yeah. I
So
know.
there's a lot when like I read a little bit about it and knew what I was coming into. Like this is I messaged you like, what is this movie? And you said it was John Carpenter's first film and the guy who wrote Aliens. And I said, yeah, that's exactly what it feels like.
Yep.
A lot of ideas going on. You know, I know what you're saying, Steve, about that No Man's Land. I watched Carlito's Way, and the cinematography and the camera placement is very interesting. He can show Brian De Palma shows emotion. Oh, hi, goodbye, everybody. Brian De Palma shows emotion in this interesting way, where he'll do a stationary shot of Carlito just like getting mad, angrier and angrier, and then he shows Benny Blanco, who is just like yelling at him from like a Dutch angle with a slight color change, and you just get the emotion from both of them through this. This movie is very much what you're saying, where it is a lot of just like shots of people talking, but I really like some of the visual language that they do. Like when they're setting up the bomb, they all like look up, like they all like prepare in this weird way, which I thought was really interesting. There's also a shot where they show, I think, Pinback from like,
well, I think when they look
his
up, that's when they're
waist
traveling.
up.
They're traveling through space. I think something happens to them physically when they're traveling at light speed or whatever, and that's also how Powell died, right? Which is also maybe like
His
chuckle.
chair electrocuted him?
His chair killed him. I'm like, what the fuck?
Because it malfunctioned?
Yeah, which I think is really funny that his chair killed him. Like his chair, I don't know if the chair is supposed to stop you from dying, or like if it has some sort of protection from the space travel that stops you from getting whiplash or whatever.
No, they say that it was in that they when they go through the asteroid electrical storm, they also say that the last time they went through one, that's his chair malfunctioned and electrocuted.
No, I know, which is funny. It's funny that his chair killed him. Like that's funny to me.
It's a very silly way to die.
It is. You died because your chair malfunctioned. It's like a chair is just such a simple thing to kill you. You know, it's something that everybody uses every day. Somebody uses a chair. I think we're all using a chair right now.
I am not.
Imagine your chair.
There are
so
even
dangerous.
some chairs that are designed to kill people, though.
That's true.
They're not supposed to use those anymore.
Yeah.
Well, Texas might still. So yeah, they're gonna drop a bomb on a planet, and they set us up the bomb. All your base are belong to us.
Oh my god, that's what was running through my head. So there were
Absolutely
things that I was thinking about with this movie. One was Barry Lyndon, 2 was Tron, and 3 was All Your Base Are Belong to Us.
I mean, that's what Dan O'Bannon said was his main inspirations for this movie. Not 2001
video game from 20 years later.
Not 2001 A Space Odyssey, but Barry Lyndon. He's like, I'm going to choose a different Kubrick movie to send up. Maybe he was doing both. But I mean, this is clearly like a send up of 2001 A Space Odyssey in some capacity. But it's also a precursor to Alien, which is like so weird. It's so weird and interesting that it's a parody of one masterpiece and a precursor to another masterpiece, and it sits as this weird artifact that nobody has seen really. Like the only people who have seen this movie are like crazy Carpenter nerds or crazy film nerds who are like, I appreciate watching the early works of classic filmmakers.
Or someone who's really bored on Prime.
Yeah,
people are like, what the fuck? John Carpenter made this.
It seems like one of the movies that might accidentally
start for a film podcast.
It might start playing by accident, you know, like if you let your Prime run too long and like something plays afterwards, you might be like, what the fuck am I watching right now? It's like his chair killed him. His chair killed him? Why is there a beach ball running around?
You made a really good point, Steve, that I didn't really pick up on, but it does really have that like just another day at the office kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And I really like that. Looking at it through that lens increases my love.
I think my Letterboxd review was like, even after, you know, like it just goes to show you that even after 20 years, a job as exciting as blowing up planets can still seem mind-numbing labor to you.
I have a question about the blowing up planets thing. You said that they were blowing up stars so they wouldn't sail into the thing and turn into supernovas. Did I completely misunderstand? I thought that they were blowing up planets that...
They're blowing up planets that are going off their rotation or whatever.
Off their orbit.
I thought I thought maybe I was making the movie more interesting for myself. I thought that they were blowing up planets where there were people that could upset the rule of the main, like
the Prime Directive.
So there's like a weird sort of implication in this movie that like they had to they if they find a planet with life, they have to investigate or whatever. And like he's like, don't remember when they're sitting there and he's like, don't tell me anything about planets with life. The guy's like, there's a 90% chance that this planet could have intelligent life on it. He's like, no,
see,
I don't want to hear about it.
I thought that they were looking for planets with intelligent life to blow up, and that they didn't want to go to one with just a vegetable because that's not worth blowing up. So I was watching this while I was finishing work, and so I may have missed a critical piece of that scene. I like my version.
Yeah, your version is they're fucking evil. They're blowing up planets with intelligent life because.
Well, there is a part towards the end.
Sorry.
There's a part towards the end where he's like in 12,000 rotations, and I feel like they look at each other like, that's a long time. We probably don't need to just decimate this planet. 12,000 rotations could be, whatever 12,000 divided by 365, or depending on the how big the planet is and how long it takes to go around.
I think rotations are going around the sun. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, like that's the way they're saying.
But yeah, what they're doing is they're looking for planets that are deviating from their orbit, that are in danger of flying off into suns and creating supernovas. Like, even though I don't think that that's how that works, but like I don't really know enough about how planets getting sucked into stars work. But that's their thing, is to protect the rest of the universe from or the galaxy from planets going rogue or whatever.
Meanwhile, I'm so used to dystopian, like the hellscape that we live in right now, and all of the like movies that are so dire that I was like, they're obviously out to kill people, because that guy was like, I want to blow something up, damn it. And I was just like, oh, does he just want to find a place with it? Anyway, I missed that. I like my version.
I do like your version, but I also am like, he doesn't even get to see it. It would
be a very different movie.
Yeah, but he doesn't even get to see the planets blow up. It'd be different if he was like, in a gun seat and being like, bam, and like watching the planet blow up in Star Wars or something. But he's just in like he's like the guy.
But they watched it blow up.
Did they?
At the beginning. Yeah.
I mean, the guy on top can watch it, but all the guys inside, there's no windows or anything.
Oh, well, there's a satisfaction in doing things, though, right?
I guess.
Yeah, they had to have seen it some.
They see it on a readout, be like, bloop, bloop, bloop. It's gone now. It's gone. But yeah, I don't know. It's like the equivalent of the guy in the Death Star who's like, like the dudes with those weird helmets that go really far back or whatever. It's like that guy pulling it and being like, did it work? It's like, yeah, apparently we blew up Alderaan or Dantooine or whatever the fuck. I think the Death Star only blew up one planet, right? I'm sure in extended lore that probably blew up more than one. It blew up Alderaan, but she was trying to send it to Dantooine, which fuck Leia. Jesus. She's like, no, go to this other planet, Dantooine.
Yeah,
there's still
save
people
my
to live
planet.
There. Yeah.
But after they blow up that planet, they do discover a new star. It's a red dwarf. And then there's that part where he's like, will you name the new star? And he's like, no. Because the Doolittle's so disillusioned by the whole thing. He just doesn't want any part of any of this at this point in his career. And I think that goes to what you guys were what Steve was talking about with they if there's any life on the planet potentially, then I don't want to know. I don't want to name a star. I just gotta do our job, and maybe we get
but Powell would have named it.
Yeah.
What do you want to name the star? I don't give a fuck. What? You're supposed to name it though. Yeah. I mean, why can't Pinback name it? Pinback seems like maybe he's a little too by the book, but also when we see his diary, it's like he starts off as like a weird, like grizzled man who's like, I just want everyone to know that I fucking hate my wife and my kids, and that's why I came out here into space. And my name's what is his name? Like Bill Fugue.
Bill Fugues or something. Yeah, because we'll find out about him later.
Which is also a reference
isn't supposed to be there.
It's also a reference to the ending of this movie is pulled straight out of a collection of short stories, and like there's a story where that's how the ending of that story ended, and they just were like, let's just end it this way. So they named his real version after the author of that, which is kind of cool.
Oh, cool.
There's a bunch of little things like that throughout this movie, which is I didn't know until I started reading about it today, and I was like, oh,
it's a nerd student film.
It's a student film, yeah. It's like
but like it's a nerd one where they're like, do you know what would be cool? Like,
guys were just reading sci-fi serials all day.
Yeah, but it's the equivalent to like if we were all film students right now and we made a movie and we're like, well, you stay away from the old Carpenter house or something, you know, like it's basically,
which they do in horror movies still.
They do it all the time, yeah. The old Savini place is full of ghouls and goblins.
Filled with old masks. This movie does an interesting thing where we get the entire credits at this point and there's no end credits, which I thought was interesting. And they play that song
all the credits are at the beginning.
That's what I just said.
Oh, sorry. I mean, that's how old the movie is.
That's super old school.
That's an old school thing they used to do because they couldn't keep people around for the credits back in the day. But they
you have to do the entire overture and then a clip of every song that's in the movie, and then that's what all the credits are.
Yeah. It's because in back in the day, they appreciated every single aspect of filmmaking, whereas now they're like, no, we have 14,000 special effects photographers and animators, so we cannot possibly do it that way.
But let's put a 20-second clip after the superhero movie so people will stay and find out that.
Bro, I stay and watch the credits no matter what movie I'm watching.
You're better than the rest of us.
Before. Those people worked hard on the movie.
I agree. If I was working on something,
look up
and somebody left before my name popped up, I'd be like, fuck you. If I was in the theater, I'd be like, hey, fuck you.
I went to see The Lion King, and at the end, like they're playing people out, right? And I still hung around to clap after because those people are still performing. Like,
yeah.
Anyway.
I look up if there's a post credits for every single movie now, so I see some credits.
I mean, sometimes I find myself when I watch stuff on streaming and it's like an old movie, I'll still scrub through the credits to see if there's a post credit, even though if it's a movie made in the 70s. I'm like, there's not going to be one, but I'm still gonna.
You guys are all broken.
Sometimes
I know.
Listen,
it's called
I
brain
watch
rot. We all
TikToks
have
for
it.
97 hours a day. Somehow, it's bad. You can barely handle this the movie.
Well, it's like these guys in this movie. When you go on TikTok, you don't age. So you're like, you're like, we've been gone for 20 years, but we've only aged 3 years. That's their way.
That's actually not a bad. Like, I'll lose hours just staring at TikTok, and I'm like, where did it all go?
I've been lying here. Yeah, that happens to me multiple times a week. Where I'll stop working, and then I'll be like, why am I so hungry? And then I'll be like, it's 11 p.m. and I didn't eat dinner, and I stopped working at 7:30. What the fuck is happening to me?
I'll have a bad day at work, and I'll come home and I'll get stun locked on TikTok because I can't do anything else. Which is kind of how it happens for me. When you have a bad day at work, everything was shitty, and you get home and you're like, I could play video games or watch a show or a movie, or like, nope, I've just spent 3 hours watching.
I had a bad day at work today. You guys want to hear about it?
About SpongeBob. Yeah, this is an office comedy.
I had to do a 17-page script about all of the like most famous mafia families that have worked out of New York and Ontario, and it took me forever because every single mobster from the 1920s up until the 2023, they all have a very Italian name, which is, I can figure it out without having to look up pronunciations most of the time, but they also have like a bananas middle nickname that'll be like Juliana the Ear Babanizzo. The ear. And
what's your job?
I'm a narrator. I do narration. And because I'd be reading it and then I'd be like, what? And then I would start laughing, or I'd be like, the ear? Well, how did you get that nickname? Because you got your ear to the ground. And then a paragraph later, it's like, but the ear didn't hear that one coming because they got shot to death. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is crazy.
Mike Smith says we're a passionate group of creatives.
This is not, he's talking about the people that made the movie.
I think.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Jason, we're at adding nothing to existence and life.
No, I think that we're all passionate creatives, and so is Mike Smith. I know him personally, and he's a very creative guy. He's a very creative guy. And all the miniatures in this movie, when I was watching them, was making me think of him because he does all these like this great like miniature work stuff. Mike Smith, you're awesome. You're cool. You're cool as heck. You do cool shit.
On the show someday.
Yeah.
I've just noticed that the Falling in Love magazine he's reading at one point, the Falling in Love part is kind of like the Fallout style font, which I thought was interesting. That old school like 60s like yellow with the blue lines. I liked that.
I like that you call it the Fallout font.
I know it's not that. The 60s like Art Deco. The malfunctioning chair that killed Powell is still having issues, and all the toilet paper has been destroyed.
Also funny, made me laugh. All the toilet paper got destroyed. That just made me think like, oh my god, like what are they doing? How do they deal with it?
What would you do?
Hand, and then wash my hand real thoroughly afterwards.
3 shells.
Yeah, the shells. This is where the shell idea came from Shell Man, or what's that movie called? Demolition Man. Yeah.
There's the ship log of them heading to the unstable planet. They're talking about the ship deteriorating because it's been at it for 20 years. The boys rock out to some smooth jazz, I think.
The computer tells them, "I'm sorry to interrupt your music, but protocol says that blah blah blah." I thought that was funny. And then Muzak played for a while, and I was like, appropriate, since nothing is happening in this movie.
That's it.
Your computer voice was eerily close to your regular voice. No.
The computer also has like a big personality. Like it
love
talks like a computer,
but then it was so much.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
that's
such
AI working properly.
Because like you don't think like the bomb should have a voice. Like if you're writing something like this, you're just like the bomb is gonna go bad and like that's it. But like the bomb having its own like separate thought process from the computer, like it would make so much more sense if the computer and the bomb were connected and shared a consciousness. But the idea that the bomb has its own personality and consciousness is like, my purpose is to detonate. What do you mean?
The fact that every bomb has a personality and something that's like a consciousness, and they're just suicide missions, and their whole purpose is just suicide.
Well, you can only do that once. Yes. And your point being I'm designed to do this and I'm going to do it. That's what I'm supposed to do.
Who programmed this?
A psychopath. Yeah.
And crazy military man in the 60s. They hit the asteroid storm. That's also an electromagnetic storm. And they need to manually activate the defense systems. And this is another thing I liked about the onboard computer when they show its face. Kind of looks like a skull, but it's a bunch of like patterns that just kind of make up a face. I liked that element. And then
which is like surprising for the low budget nature of this. You would expect it to be, because you watch something like Alien and it's like they have this impressive set where it's like just this weird white room with a bunch of gold lights everywhere, and it looks really pretty and beautiful. And I guess it's supposed to, represent the brain of Mother or whatever. And then talking to her is just talking through cold green text on a computer, like, like the text coming up, and there's no warmth to it, even though the room itself is beautiful. And then in this, like the voice is very pleasant, and then it has like a horrifying skull face made out of like just art direction, like pure art direction. It's very, very good. Yeah.
Yeah, Rollerball had a similar way that they did computers as well, and
didn't Tron do the same? Yeah.
Oh yeah, the face in Tron, yeah, like it's just made of weird polygons and stuff. Like that was like, I would,
I can't believe Tron was so much after this, because it doesn't feel like it's 10 years after Dark Star.
And I guess that's, Tron is trying real hard to do something new, and like thank God for Tron, because it changed the sort of like the landscape of filmmaking, but also fuck Tron because it changed the landscape of filmmaking.
Changed like CGI fucking green screen messes because of that
I-
movie.
I really like Tron, and once I leaned into that for Dark Star, I liked it more.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would even say that I kind of like the Neutron too. Like I thought it was
I
kinda
love
cool.
the Neutron.
I
Oh
like
my
it.
god, it's so good. Okay.
There are certain shots in that movie that I'm like, this feels like a Doritos commercial. But then there's like other shots in the movie that I'm like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Yeah. And I remember I bought the soundtrack for that movie like months before the movie.
Because it's a Daft Punk album.
Yeah.
That's why. But it's not just a Daft Punk album. It's a fucking original score for a film that it slaps so goddamn hard that I still
By
listen to it
Daft
sometimes.
Punk.
I love it.
We've discussed doing that as a sequel gap movie. Maybe we'll still do it.
What?
We wanna-
If you do Tron, I must.
Okay, we'll bring you on for Tron. But yeah, the idea is that,
I'll
like,
actually have something to say about it other than this movie. I'm so sorry. I like the beach ball. Can we get to the alien?
I like
We're
the Beach
getting there.
Boys too. But like the idea behind that month is that we would do 2 movies per episode, and it would be the original movie and the
Legacy
sequel gap.
I like that.
They're not all Lego sequels. Sometimes, but yes, more or less, yes. So it's like the largest gap between sequels, and Tron has one of the biggest ones. One of the other ones is Mary Poppins, and I'm like, maybe not that one.
No,
Maybe
yes.
Mary
Oh my
Poppins.
god, I love both of those
Well,
movies.
that sounds about right. That tracks for Noel.
Noel's gonna come on for every
Yeah.
giant sequel gap movie.
Oh my god, I love these movies so much.
We have a bunch of other ones. I think Blade Runner's another. Anyway, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah. There was a confusing element of this movie with the laser. They do explain it later in the movie, but here the laser gets damaged. They don't really explain what it is. They just keep showing an ominous picture
It's
of like this
Chekhov's
laser
laser.
sign. Yeah, pretty much.
It's Chekhov's smoking laser. That's
then the
also
bomb-
what we called an episode when we first started smoking the cigars on every episode. We called Chekhov's smoking laser.
So how about women being terrible, eh?
Oh, I agree, old chum.
And I lit a bunch of money on fire.
Yeah.
And then lit my cigar with it.
And bought some crypto.
And then I was
Yeah,
like,
and then I
stop
bought
burning
some-
that money. I need some of it. I don't have any. And then
The
bought crypto.
the bomb bay becomes active. The computer and the bomb have their first little tiff. The bomb is like, "I'm going, man," and the computer's like, "Please don't. This is not the time. You're having a malfunction."
I just had
because
an
of the
idea.
Asteroid storm.
Tell me if this is funny or not. So the Crypt Keeper from Tales of the Crypt,
The crypto keeper.
if he comes back, he's called the Crypt Bro, and he's obsessed with crypto coin. Is that a thing?
That's something. I'm going to
Okay.
put that in the list of potential T-shirts.
I don't know
actually.
what the idea is, but it's the Crypt Bro, and he's obsessed with cryptocurrency, and he's the Crypt Keeper, and he's back. Anyway,
Crypt bro.
sorry, I didn't mean to derail with that stupid idea.
The crypto keeper.
the crypto keeper.
I think
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever recover from what you just said.
I know. Is that your equivalent of being like, the thing? What you just said is the stupidest thing.
Billy Madison.
Yeah.
And at no point were you even remotely close to the point. It's also like I just fed Sprite to a medieval peasant a little bit. It just
We
broke
can
your
market
brain.
that though. We could actually turn that into
An
a
actual
cryptocurrency.
cryptocurrency. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's but it's spelled
Crypto
crypt.
keeper
Like,
coin.
It's
yeah.
KKK. Nope.
Stop, Jason. Jason always has to say something horribly racist every episode. Last week he did
That's
his
not
Japanese
true.
impression. I'm just
That's you. You did that.
I didn't do that.
alas, poor Yorick. I knew him.
Yeah.
Okay, Hamlet. Calm it down.
Oh, jeez.
I
Sorry.
have skulls.
I know. That's it. It's apt because of the computer's face. They don't detonate the bomb. They make it through the storm. There is a malfunction, but they're not sure what it is yet. And then they talk about fixing the sleep quarters. Because
Yeah,
last time
this
there
is
was an
all, like-
electrical storm, the sleep quarters got destroyed, and they were just like, "We'll move everything into the food."
Because there's a hole in
quarters.
the ship, I guess. They say that like everything got sucked out or something.
Yeah, it like
I-
blew up the room, and everything got sucked out.
So I have a question. When the computer warns them later,
Hmm.
can they not hear it because of this whole situation with their bedroom being sleep quarters being blown up? Like, was this planned in payoff, or am I doing too much work?
I think you're doing too much work, but I think actually you might not be, because I didn't even consider that. So like, that's
because there was no way they wouldn't have heard the, like, I was like, oh, because of that thing earlier.
They're in a room that is like meant for like storage. It's a storage room. That's where they're sleeping. All their bunks are in there. But also there's only 4 beds, and one is for the dead guy, and there's one guy up in the dome. And the whole time I'm like, does the guy just does he just live up there? Like, is his bed up there? Does he not leave? And they talk about it being like, well, he just likes it in the dome, which, I mean, fair. I would like it in the dome too. I think
I was like, I'm with that guy, man. Like, I don't want to be near any of these clowns.
Yeah.
But I thought that's why they ultimately died, because that audio wouldn't have played in that room.
Right. I don't know. I think maybe because you would think that in a spaceship like this, the computer would be able to talk to you no matter where you are. Like, because he can hear her when he's in the elevator shaft. You know, like, why would there be a speaker in there?
Makes sense. That's where people are, and like,
it makes sense if it's in the elevator, but in the elevator shaft, why would it be in the shaft? You know,
okay, so I am doing too much work.
I think so, yeah. But I mean, I also agree sort of that maybe there was damage to that area, and that's why they couldn't hear it. But
yeah,
it seems like there's a lot of weird residual damage that happens from the storm they go through that they haven't really pegged down yet. So I don't know. I don't have the answers, Noel. I don't have the answers you seek. But
if there's one episode I wish John Carpenter could have come and give us some insight, it's this one, because there's a lot of stuff that we're filling in the blanks for. That
there's one thing I know about John Carpenter is that he smokes so much weed every day that he would come on and be like, I don't fucking remember. Like,
I don't know. That was
he would not know. Yeah. Or he would make something up on the spot. Yeah.
Yeah. He plays a little ditty. He plays a little.
I think I've said this before on the show, because I was talking to myself in the mirror the other day. And I was like, if they remake this movie, I literally was not talking to anybody. I just had a thought, and I was like, I was talking to, and I'm like, wait, I wasn't talking to anybody. I was just literally having a thought. I was thinking about
it wasn't nothing.
I was thinking about if they remade this movie, and because there's so many John Carpenter movies that have been remade, and he's been questioned about it in panels and discussions and interviews for years and years and years. And his answer has always been more or less the same thing, which is like, so what do you think of the remake? And he's like, I haven't seen it. It's like, well, okay. Except I think he did the music for some of the new Halloween. So I think he's kind of into those ones. But he's like, so what do you think about them thinking about remaking Big Trouble in Little China? And he just goes like this. And he's like, I put my hand out, and then a check falls into my hand, and I take it, and I don't care. And you're like, okay, I can also kind of respect that people love his movie so much that they want to remake them, but he's also like, I don't give a fuck. My movie is good, and if they want to remake it, they can remake it, and it'll probably suck.
That's the perfect way to, like, to handle that. Like, nothing's going to debase your original movie. There are very few things that actually take away from the original movie. The Hobbit trilogy is one of those things, but that's very rare for something new to ruin the previous thing. In fact, usually what it does is send people to the previous thing and learn something. I would love them to remake this movie, because it would be
that's what I was gonna
so
this
much
movie would
worse.
Slap so hard if they remade
this
it.
Movie. I think this movie would, like, if they remade, I don't think you can remake this movie. Like, I think part of its charm is, like, you would have to complicate it. You would have to shoot it. It wouldn't be this movie anymore, because 90% of it is the budget constraint.
Yeah. It is unremakeable, but I would be so intrigued to watch a remake of it.
I'm all for it. Please.
There was something I was thinking about while watching this movie, where it's like, when you're making a movie, the difference between like movie and TV a lot of times is a movie is like, how can we make these shots look interesting with what we have available, and also convey the story we're trying to convey, but also let's do something new and enigmatic with what we're given. And with $60,000, they got this much out of these ideas, and there's still some pretty intricate filmmaking, like the Talby's like whole suit that he's wearing, the like space suit. They like had to make that whole thing and then shoot it in a way that made it not look cheap. And I think that this movie excels at the filmmaking element. The story is minimal, but I think that helps the film at large because it's more about what kinds of shots can we do. We talked about it at the beginning of the show with the narrowness of the spaceship. They did that on purpose to really get the feeling that they've been trapped in this like tiny submarine, like Steve said.
Yeah. So sorry, not to cut you off, but you are kind of going on it seems like you're barreling into you're torpedoing here. You're just going through every fucking point you have in your mind. Chill for a second. We got to talk about the remake aspect for 1 second. I don't want to get too far away from it. We're like talking about that and you're like every point. Okay.
I just wanted to relate to what you were saying with the remake.
So yeah, and this, I think that I wanted to talk to you guys specifically about this idea because I was like, a lot of his movies have been remade. This movie seems like it would be impossible to remake, but I really want to see what it would be like to remake it. And are there any elements of this movie that you would absolutely need to remain exactly 100% the way they are? Or is there anything in this movie that you liked that you would like to see at a grander budget, something that has like $150 million to play around with?
To your first question, I'll say that they have to keep the alien that goofy. They have to keep it as like a weird beach ball. Yeah. You could have better special effects, but it has to be. I literally
wrote in my Letterboxd review, if they ever remake this, it still has to be a beach ball as the alien. That's the one thing that has to remain exactly as it is.
But all the Doctor Who.
Yeah.
All the outside of the ship stuff, put all the money in the outside of the ship stuff. Make it look crazy and make it look like making an IMAX fucking movie that just has these sweeping space epic moments.
I have this
like 2001
sweet idea in my mind, but Noel, do you have an idea you want to say first? I don't want to talk too long.
Put all the budget into music. Keep like almost everything else the same, like clean it up, but like just all of that dead space, all of that silence, all of the stuff that's not funny could be super enhanced by a different score. And you could make the movie, I think, more fun for a contemporary audience with a really amazing like mixtape soundtrack.
I agree, yeah. And I think like even having John Carpenter do the soundtrack as he does for the new Halloween movies would be really fun and cool as well, because I do like the synth vibe of the soundtrack, and if you listen to it, it almost sounds like an old sort of like a Legend of Zelda, but like the like the under areas of the Legend of Zelda or something, where it's like bam, 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 bam.
You know what's great?
You know the scene in
I was just gonna say to Steve's note there. There's a game called Earthbound for the Super Nintendo, and
are you telling me there's a game called Earthbound for the Legend of Zelda video game system Nintendo SNES?
Yes, SNES. That literally has almost the same that music you're talking about for a like underground area, and I was like, did Itoy, the creator who made the music, he's very much the John Carpenter of video games with this series and a series of books. He's a Japanese star. He's the Japanese John Carpenter. He might have gotten some inspiration from this film specifically because of his inspirations came from old
he's been accused
movies.
of stealing from John Carpenter his entire career. I don't know.
Is that real?
No,
okay.
I have no clue. But my thing that I would do is, so they have these bombs, and the bombs are huge when they come out, and then they shoot out to planets and blow them up. But they have to have over 20 years worth of bombs in there, right? So make the quarters where they live just as tiny and weird as it is, but then make the bomb hull like this huge, giant, like cathedral of endless amounts of bombs. And then like the one sequence,
like a massive warehouse.
Yes,
that just sprawls on and
like
on.
the Indiana Jones warehouse with all the boxes.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah,
and it's just full of bombs. But then that's where he builds his weird bottle organ, like when he's playing the bottles, and make it so that he's got scaffolding, and he's got to have 20 years worth of bottles, and like when he plays his piano or whatever that he makes, it's like this crazy moment of like him like hitting like thousands of bottles at the same time, and it could be this like weird long extended piece. And I think it would like show his character a lot more, because in that moment I'm like, oh, he's a musician, okay, this is cool, and he misses playing his musician, but then later he's just talking about fucking surfing the whole goddamn time. Like, what the hell, what about your music? And then you look into how the movie was made, the surfing stuff was shot already, and then that musical thing was added afterward, so they're like, well, just there's no connection, but like, it's kind of a human thing.
If you're like going around the bend because you're losing your mind, you're gonna make like, it's a human thing. Like, you're going to make an instrument out of something to entertain yourself in some kind of way. And I would love for someone smart to come up with other things that are a little more contemporary or more budgeted that they could do.
I just think the idea of him creating a musical instrument that is akin to like an organ in a grand cathedral hall out of bottles partially filled with water, and maybe he's like pulling strings to play music, or maybe he's still figured out a way to hook it up. It would show that he is far smarter than we think he is, and then it would maybe play into that moment where he just wants to surf a little bit more than it did, because you almost forget about that. But if that moment is a little bit more impactful, because it wasn't really that impactful, it was interesting, but it wasn't something I was thinking about while he was talking about surfing. But if it was this like big grand moment, I think maybe you would connect it a little bit more. That's where I put a ton of money into that. Just this big weird warehouse with him with his weird water organ. Pretty cool.
But it's like the size of a whole wall.
It's got scaffolding. He's got to take a ladder up to fill a bunch of bottles, and like, he's like, ding, like he's, it's maybe like 8 minutes of him just fiddling around with this organ before he plays it. It'd be crazy. It'd be cool.
I like that.
I'm imagining it like the opening of Back to the Future, where he's plugging in the
massive
amp.
speaker. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I was thinking more along the lines of like Alien. What's not the newest one, but the one before it, Covenant, where like David is like trying to write his own opuses and he's trying to push beyond being a creation of man, but he's limited by his programming, so he finds it very difficult to create things beyond what humans can create without actually harvesting stuff that they've already done. And so he's using the aliens, the engineers, combined with human creation to try and create his own stuff. And he's like, this is original or whatever. I don't know if you guys like those David movies, but I think they're fucking dope.
I liked both of them. We need a third one. I watched them so recently that they're like pretty fresh in my head too, because I just went through all the Alien movies, and that's what's great about this film. It kind of adds to that whole lineage. All I have left is Romulus, and Steve's going to mention some Romulus stuff. I'm going to do one of these.
No, I think I realized I don't need to. Like I wanted to, but the fact you haven't seen it, I'm not gonna drop anything.
So the reason that I would want the music thing to be more Marty McFly and less like smart is because I think the other thing that I would keep is for these guys to be absolute dullards the way that they are.
That's maybe the shirt, Jason. It's just the word dullard.
Dullard.
And it's me and you looking at each other like we're trying to figure out which one is which. Like which one is the dullard? Yeah.
Listen,
it's the Spider-Man pointing, and it just says dullard above, and it's you guys pointing at each other.
Pointing at each other, and like,
we're dressed like this. Yeah.
Oh my god.
We're basically dressed the same like now too, so it's glasses, black.
You're the dullard, not me.
We're both dumb.
Yeah,
and smart.
The only one that should be smart is the guy who's not anywhere near them.
The guy in the bubble, yeah.
And you give him more stuff.
Talby was the most interesting character, I think, as far as like
by a country mile.
but because he was so introspective about everything, and he was like, I just want to look at the stars with my time. And the other guys, well, the next scene is they go to their sleep quarters and we see them all mentally unraveling. Boiler has Boiler scrawled on his wall next to his bed. He starts playing the knife game with his hand in a knife.
Stabs himself immediately, almost immediately. He only gets one way through, before he does it on the second run, and he's like, "Ow!" You're like, "Okay, well, this is good." Also, did you notice that Dan O'Bannon kind of looks like Tim? I was like, Tim sort of.
I was gonna
like
say
Dan
that.
Yeah.
Tim's in the house right now too. I was gonna say. I think that I'm.
Oh, Tim! Wake up, stupid cat!
I'm Doolittle. Tim is Pinback, and I guess Steve would be Talby.
I'll take Talby. Yeah, I think that
I don't want to call you Boiler because you're not a boiler.
I would most
Boiler's a
definitely
Chad,
not
like,
want to be in your
doofus.
stinky fart chamber. I would go up and live in the bubble by myself.
Do I
for
have
more
to be
time.
the computer then?
You are the computer, absolutely.
Oh
I
man!
mean, you can be the bomb if you want.
You can be the bomb, yeah. Because you're the bomb. Remember from the 90s?
I'll see
No,
myself.
I've never
out.
heard of that.
Pinback's trying to make them laugh. Oh, this is where the smooth jazz is playing. Pure boredom is happening. He puts on the wacky eyes, the back of a comic book wacky eyes that fall out. And Doolittle is just like, I'm
They
going
also
to
take
stab you in
so
the neck.
long to fall out. Like it's one of those things where like we know what's going to happen. They're going to fall out, but when? And the answer is 45 to 120 seconds longer than you think they're going to fall out. Like you're
Absolutely.
like, we know what's going to happen. He's going to go up to one of them and go. Blah, 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 blah. This is all added stuff too, by the way. This whole sequence where they're in their living quarters added. Because they're like, we need to flesh it out. How about a scene where they're just sitting in silence, smoking cigarettes?
Right.
And
Did
one of
they
them-
know what the term flesh it out meant?
Yeah. They're like, yeah, chicken flesh. Let's give them a rubber chicken.
Well, the rubber chicken is great because it really shows that Doolittle has been enduring these same 4 jokes, these same 4 things for 20 years. And the rubber chicken is what sets them off.
I bet you Pinback did that really early on.
All the time.
Like
All
the
the
second
time.
year he was doing it and they were like, all right, Pinback, it's funny, but like just put the googly goggles back. We don't need it anymore. And he's still been doing it for 20 years to try and get a rise out of these guys, and they don't like it anymore.
Yeah, I think why I liked Talby more than the other ones was because he wasn't the only one. Sorry, he was the only one that didn't piss me off. All the other ones did stuff that just like these like losers, like dullard guys. And I was just like, he seems like he's got something going on, and you don't find out enough about him to hate him. He just seems like a dreamer.
Yeah. It's got a little bit of the way that the dudes trapped up in the research facility at the thing. It's got a little bit of that element of it where they've all lost it and they're all just sick of each other.
Except in this, it's like they actually just want to kill each other. They're not suspicious that one of them is secretly a murderous, monstrous, cancerous alien. Yeah. I get it though.
He's
like
so mean to the alien. As soon as he started being mean to the beach ball, I was like, I want this whole thing to blow up.
Yeah. I kept being like, I hope he falls down the elevator shaft and breaks his legs horribly, and then he's just down there for the rest, being like, help me or something.
I'm hurt very badly. Could somebody please?
Did he mean to kill the beach ball?
No, he was trying to tranquilize it.
But
he specifically went and grabbed the tranquilizer gun, not the gun that shoots fucking holes and stuff. Like he grabbed the one because he's like, and he says time to go to bed before he shoots it. He didn't know it was gonna pop, even though maybe he should.
It was like time to go to bed, you stupid piece of fucking shit. Fuck you, you stupid fucking fuck.
But it's all censored out with the dead air.
He did say all of that. Maybe more, but it did try to kill him. Like it tried to kill him.
This did not look like a guy who was just like, okay, I need to tranquilize this animal. It looked like someone who was like,
I think that, I don't know what he would have done afterwards. Had he successfully tranquilized it, he probably would have shot it out the airlock or something and been like,
he would have killed it.
Just stomped it to death. I was also wondering, like, this was an addition, as I said earlier, this beach ball alien. And like it looks like shit, but I love it so much because it's like weird, like and it's like weird noises that it makes. But it looks
like chicken feet.
Yeah, and it looks like it was a spray painted beach ball. Like they spray painted it to look vaguely like a strawberry almost.
It looks like it is a spray painted beach ball.
Well, yes,
it literally was.
but like it doesn't look like it has paint on it. Like it still has like this glossy outward texture to it. So I'm like, did they turn the beach ball inside out somehow, spray paint the inside, then turn it back and then blow it up? And I'm like, because this is my brain like going through. I'm like, it looks too. It looks like it's not on the outside. It doesn't look like they spray painted it.
It looks like when you draw marker on acetate. You know those films that used to put in the projector?
Yeah, but this is my issue, is that it didn't look like that to me. It looked like it was on the other side of the acetate. So like,
I was watching it on one of the most advanced devices
a phone.
Possibly.
I was watching it on a giant ass fucking TV, and I was like,
clearly,
how do they do this? But maybe you're right. I don't know. Maybe they drew on it with fucking dry erase markers or something. But I do love the creature. Yeah, it's like when we say it's a beach ball that looks like it's spray painted, we're not even joking. Like it just.
I see what you mean about it being flipped inside out, though, because even the seams look like they're inside out.
Yeah, everything about it looks. So I'm thinking maybe they cut open a beach ball and they like use gaffer tape or something, like a really strong industrial tape to keep it together to blow it up again. And it doesn't look like it's fully inflated either, because they wanted it to have that sort of like that wobbly effect. But oh my god, look at it. Its feet are just like weird hand, like human hand. It's like the creature from the Black Lagoon hands.
They're webbed feet.
Yeah. They're webbed feet. Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a minute. But this is the scene that you guys were talking about with the instrument, and he plays that for like a long time.
But imagine that in a giant fucking hangar with like 1,000 bottles, and maybe it's Talby playing instead of stupid surfer guy.
And then it cuts to the other guys just doing stuff, which I think might be artifacts from the original movie, because they're just like sleeping, and Doolittle's cutting his mustache, and we see Talby just kind of looking at the stars, I think, too, at this point. And then Cap goes up to talk to him, and he's like, "Come down and hang out with us, please. I need a new person."
One of the funniest things
I just
about
want to watch space.
Boiler is that if you look at his picture on IMDb, he clearly, like, the actor clearly did it, but he didn't know how to like reposition the face. So it's just like a sliver of his face and like a bunch of computer screens. Like it's like, this is the only movie I've ever been in, but I have an IMDb page, and it's like he clearly didn't know how to move his picture around.
Oh yeah. Let me see if I can. Oh, if you click on it, it shows a full picture.
Yeah, if you click on it, but like when it's the little orb, like it tells you when you're gonna accidentally fuck up like that before you do it. He's an old man. Grandpa, do you have a IMDb page for Dark Star? No. Should I make one? Yeah, you should. All right. How do I do it? Okay,
he passed away in 2008, but he was born in 1948. So yeah, he was an oldster.
Perfect. Anyway,
they've been up there for 20 years and have only aged 3. Talby wants to see the Phoenix asteroid. It travels around the universe every 1.3 trillion years. And the captain is like, "I can only talk to you. You're the only person with a brain." But the thing is like Talby can't talk to Doolittle, because Doolittle just brings up the fact he was from Malibu, used to be a surfer, and he just prattles on and on and on about being from Malibu and being a surfer.
Talby's talking about like, imagine what gods must feel like looking onto this, and like imagine living longer than your mind is capable of comprehending, and like imagine seeing these things that have been traveling for trillions and trillions of years. And the other guy's like, "I just miss my surfboard. I just want to wax my surfboard.
I want to wax my surfboard,"
which, is not an invalid way to feel. Like I get that they have different. They're it's almost like a comparison between like they're feeling almost the same thing, but for completely different reasons. One has like an infinitely more expansive mind, and the other one is so completely closed off and is only thinking backwards, and the other guy is thinking in ways that like you can't comprehend it, which I like it. It's it's this sort of juxtaposition of the same person in 2 completely different directions, I guess. But I
guess that was the comedy. This guy's gonna have a big philosophical thought. And then this guy's gonna be like, I miss my mom.
Yeah. But then, in the end of the movie,
I miss video games.
Yeah, the guy who misses video games and is waxing his surfboard is the one who goes down and like convinces the bomb to have a philosophical or an existential crisis about what it means to be cognitively aware of its own existence and what it needs to do and how it can actually stop what it needs to do, which is cool.
Which is great. Yeah,
I think there's like isn't there like an actual philosophy where it's like what you are is completely contradicts the Cartesian theory. Yeah. And like
I think therefore I am guy.
Descartes.
Yeah, it's like there are contradictions.
Did I get that right?
I don't know. Maybe
it is.
I didn't look any of this up beforehand. I'm just remembering from 20
Descartes,
years ago.
You were right. You genius. Some sort of brain. Okay. University.
I went to school.
What do you got? Some sort of brain in your brains? Gee whiz.
This is what I have in my brain.
Yeah. That's
it's going
smooth and spray painted.
Yeah. I'm the dullard now.
Yeah. You shouldn't have spray painted your brain so much when you were in high school, Jason.
I was huffing with so much paint.
He was trying to teach it something else and accidentally taught it Cartesian doubt.
Yeah, pretty much. And then it just started thinking for itself. We'll get to that. At this point, Boiler is clearly just an idiot and gets a giant gun. Pinback is like, that's for emergencies. And he plays target practice. And then it's time to feed the alien. So this scene doesn't really have a resolution. He just shoots something and then like you wanted this mascot. You go feed the fucking alien.
Yeah. This guy is just like, I think he's either the smartest person on the ship or he's the dumbest person on the ship. We can't really know, but he's really good at not Pinback, the other guy.
Oh, that guy is that character is the character in Point Break that is like, fuck you, and falls out of the thing and then dies.
Right. Okay. I agree.
So the dumbest guy. I don't think there's any value to this man.
You don't think that he has any thought in his head other than like, I just want to shoot this the lid of the heat sink or whatever. Yeah. He's like, because like Pinback is like sunbathing or something like in a hallway. Like,
to the last moment, this guy's not gonna get it. Like,
but he's good at his job, like in terms of like the other stuff, like the flipping the switches and everything. He does it quickly and efficiently, and he never really asks any questions. He's just doing his job. So I guess he's almost like a drone, right? Like he's. But
if you've been doing your job for 20 years and it's just pushing 2 dials, then like you're going to be really quick and efficient at the stupid thing that you've been doing for 20 years. And you having actual critical thought beyond that may have gone away in year 1. Like maybe it's because he's been on this ship for 19 years.
And all he thinks about.
But I think it's just one of those, he was recruited for this because he was a disenfranchised young man who wanted to whatever and had no thoughts in his head. And now he's up on the spaceship doing the thing that he's doing. Yeah. Like he felt like the prototypical like loser dude who winds up in this sort of thing.
peaked in high school kind of guy, or like maybe didn't even peak in high school.
They're glorified like construction guys, like demolition crew. Like that's what they do. They go, they blow up the planets, they move to the next planet. There's not a whole lot of critical thought necessary for this job. They're janitors.
Well, we just lost all of our construction and janitor crowd, Jason. Thanks a lot for alienating them in the fucking comment section.
Alienating them?
Aliens!
Speaking of aliens, Pinback goes to feed the alien, and they play a bit of cat and mouse. The alien jumps on Pinback's back and freaks out and escapes. I like that they're playing cat and mouse, and Pinback pulls out a literal mouse toy to be like, "You come get your toy. Come play with your toy."
I like that when he goes in to feed him, he's got a bucket and like a dustpan covering it. like what does he like shovel food out with a dustpan? Like he doesn't have any tools there to feed a pet, which is, I guess, because they didn't plan on it.
Wasn't the dustpan and whatever to clean up the pet's shit?
Maybe.
Did I make that part up too?
You might have, yeah. You were thinking of your own life, being like, well, I know what that's for.
Well, you have to come in and feed it and then clean up its area.
Yeah.
That's what I thought he was doing.
But no one ever says
move
it.
over so I can clean up this area.
Right.
I just kept putting more into.
No, he's there to feed it, but also there's like the weird, like it's like a fish tank thing with lights in it, and he like goes like, get out of here, and they like move away from him slowly, and I'm like, are those other aliens? Did they capture, like, is this their alien room, like their weird sort of like their lab
doing too much work.
Well, no, I thought when he walked into the room, I thought the alien was invisible because of budget constraints.
They're like, oh, and they're like, sure. It's just like miming getting punched over and over again.
But it comes down.
Instead, they went with the beach ball, which was not a budget constraint. Clearly,
way better.
They spent all the money on this. This is where $55,000.
It's so cute. I was so
better
sad
than
when
an
it died.
invisible
Like they, and then I couldn't like Pinback after that.
Well, me and Jason were talking earlier, and like Jason was saying that this movie was a part of inspiration for Dark Star. And I was like, really? Because like, I mean, it's just clearly inspiration for all of Alien, but I guess maybe Fede Alvarez or whoever, I think that's the director, he was like, I'm gonna go rewatch Dark Star for
Romulus. You said Dark Star, but you meant Romulus, right?
Romulus, yeah. Oh, so sorry.
This was an inspiration for
Fede. Yeah, he made Romulus, and he went back and watched this, and I'm like, that's wild to me that he was like, I'm gonna make sure that I have everything from every Alien movie, and also I'm gonna go watch Dark Star for some inspo as well. Imagine there was a random beach ball alien. Fucking Alien Romulus.
I can't wait to watch. I'm gonna watch Romulus literally after this podcast because it's time.
How excited would you be if like 2/3 into Alien Romulus, a weird beach ball alien showed up? Like, what the fuck?
Or if the whole point of their mission is to like blow up planets with these bombs, which I'm kind of guessing might be central plot or something. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
I honestly, when you said that to me, I couldn't pin back exactly where the inspo came from this.
Maybe just the vibe.
I guess, yeah. No, like, listen, watch Romulus and you tell me, because I'm like, I don't fucking know at all.
I didn't just get that from a random like post. It was that CBR website had a whole write up about
that. Also, just sounds like somebody like saying that to pay like respect, to be like, and Dark Star, of course,
right?
Watch that a couple times when I was a kid, and we almost put a beach ball in it, but we didn't.
So Pinback is chasing the alien around. They get to the elevator shaft. He puts a plank across. The alien makes it through. They go into the airlock area, I guess. We see the laser sign askew the door again.
It's like a panel that's hanging off, and it says like Danger Laser on it. And I'm like, Danger Laser is a good name for like a weird synth band or something. That should be a name for John Carpenter's fucking synth band that he has. Danger Laser.
There's a group called Major Laser, but they're like dance music.
I thought he was just one guy.
John Carpenter?
Major Laser.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no reason to stick on this thought. Keep going. Yes, John Carpenter.
But the alien tricks him into getting
John Carpenter is one guy. Yeah.
The alien tricks him into getting stuck, pulls the plank away. And this is so the lighting for this segment kind of changes, that it's like dark with like kind of light shining through. And this is where it gets horror-y briefly, I thought. And this is where I started to think of Alien. There's a lot of scenes in Alien where Sigourney Weaver, Ripley's like looking for the alien in the ship towards the end. Yeah. And it's really darkly lit with just like these like streaks of light coming through and lighting up just little bits. And I really thought about the scene where she sees the alien like, I don't know. It's like he's kind of sleeping between like in a like a shaft. That part where you can just kind of see
like all these pipes, and you can see the head, and then the head moves. And she's like, "Oh,
she's like,
I gotta get into this suit now." Whoopsie.
And that's what this is where I started thinking of Alien. Exactly.
Yeah.
I really like this segment, but then it just becomes.
I love Alien so much. It's such a good movie. Anyway, I'm like now replaying the movie in my head. Get out of there, Sigourney!
Shoot it out the air hatch, just like they should have done this one in the movie. Yep. The air hatch. That's what it's
I
called.
don't
That was
do
Jason's
aliens.
nickname in high school. Air hatch.
Heyo.
Mine was Lunchbox.
Yeah.
Yes, the old ledge moment where Pinback's trying to get back across and he's doing ledge bits.
Whoa,
Yeah,
whoa.
it's so many ledge bits. Like, I don't hate it, but it's too long. I think too long. But I know, Noel, you said this is your favorite sequence of the whole movie is the elevator nonsense. But like,
In the elevator, not
in
the
the
shaft
elevator.
part.
Yeah, the shaft
Just
part
in
is
the
too
elevator,
much.
trying to reach for the thing, sitting there, the comedy of like, watch out, this is going to explode for a second, and
Yeah.
like just the situation just getting worse and worse and worse, and that part's not long enough. Like that single part's just long enough to like be tense and funny and timed well. It's the only thing in the movie that's timed well.
His ledge acting is
Except
pretty good.
the end.
His edge acting is pretty
Well, the ledge. The reason I say that is because clearly he was just laying down, like it was shot.
or
Oh,
standing
yeah.
or whatever. Yeah.
And
But
I
that
thought
reminds
it was
me,
pretty good.
like that's like this movie reminds me of so many other things, and I can't pin it down. Like the soundtrack reminds me of Rocky Horror Picture Show, like when they're going to see Rocky for the first time, that sound in the exam room, like dur, 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 is exactly the same. And then the walking out of an elevator with smoke and something exploded on you is also, I've seen that somewhere.
Oh yeah, that's been done
it's
in
like
Warner Brothers cartoons for 100 years.
Yeah. That's such a
I thought he was
classic-
dead.
I mean,
and then I was like, oh yeah, this
It
is
was
a comedy.
yes, that's what it was. Sorry, it was
They're
the
playing the
Acme moment.
They're playing
It
the
was
barber of
Barber of Seville.
Is it the Barber of Seville? Like the dun 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 dun
Yes,
dun
it's
dun
the Barber
dun
of Seville.
dun. Yeah, they're playing that.
Figaro.
Yeah.
And the only thing I was thinking when I saw that was Mrs. Doubtfire. That was
Oh, I was thinking of the Bugs
That's where
Bunny
my
when
brain
he
is
was
broken.
massaging his head. Like, oh,
These are all great polls, guys. That's good stuff.
because
I
he's
haven't thought about
singing.
the Bugs Bunny
Remember the
cartoon in 30
little
years.
cartoon at the beginning of Mrs. Doubtfire that he's doing the voiceover for, singing that song,
Oh, is he?
The Barber of Seville.
I haven't seen Mrs. Doubtfire in so many years. We should do that on this show because that is
I would
one
love
of
to.
Ooh.
yeah.
We do a Robin
It was a
Williams
drive-by fruiting. Yeah.
It's one of my favorite lines. Oh my god. Bring me on for those movies.
That's the only one I can remember of that whole movie.
I heard of hot flashes, but this is incredible. This is insane. It's on fire.
Mm-hmm.
The elevator is coming. He's
okay,
That's
so
my
now.
family, not Smith.
This whole sequence is funny, like I will say, but like he's going up and down over and over again, and I'm like, Pinback, open that fucking bottom hatch, and then he finally.
The alien
starts to do
also
it.
tickles him though, to make him.
I thought it
fall
was trying to
down.
fuck him. It looked like it was trying to fuck him.
Only
Well, it,
know
like,
that it was
bends
only
him over,
tickling
yeah.
because the caption told me that he was laughing. Nothing else other than the caption would have given me any indication that this
Yeah.
man was laughing. It sounded like
The
he
yeah.
frustrated or in pain.
The audio in this movie when people are yelling blows out so hard that you can't really get the nuance of like the emotion. It just sounds like you're like, okay, I don't know what's going on.
Also,
right
like, I don't know, people laugh in different ways, but like
Well,
Yeah.
I wrote. I
some
think
people
this is
laugh through their noses, hissing and fissing like snakes.
fisting and pissing like.
I
snakes.
love to laugh.
I wrote that I think this is meant to be funny, but it's actually horrifying. With
Maybe we
the
should do Mary Poppins. You're right.
the Lego sequel, the remake.
Yeah.
What did I call it? The Lego. The pre-make. That's what I called it. Prequel remake. The elevator.
Cover
That's
is
what I
not
called
book,
the
so look
2011
around
thing.
and take a look, because under the covers you'll discover that the king is just.
I
What is
mean,
the content?
you put me up against a chimney and I'll tell you chim chim chiroo and I'm gonna lose my fucking mind.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
It's the master. It's the master of step and talk.
Chim chim chiroo. Yeah,
just
here's
picture-
about to step in time. Here's about to step in time.
My grandmother had
And then
this,
you
like,
watch Chitty
weird-
Chitty Bang Bang, and it's like the old bamboo, riggedy go bamboo, and it's the exact same fucking song, pretty much.
My grandmother
Sure
had this
is.
weird room in her house that like wasn't quite a bedroom. It was like a TV room, even though she had other rooms with TVs in
And she
it.
was
Anyway,
like, the old bedroom, the old bedroom, the old bedroom.
I just
And you're
remember
like, "Stop
watching
it,
Mary
Grandma, you're
Poppins
scaring me.
on like Christmas Eve when I was like 7, and she had all these tchotchkes and knickknacks all over the room. Anyway, just a weird memory that I had.
My favorite line from Mary Poppins is, although we adore them individually, we agree that as a group they're rather stupid, when she's talking about men.
You're right, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, the women's suffrage movement. Yeah. Fucking great. That movie is good, man. Mary Poppins kind of rules. We should do it, Jason. It's been a
I'd
while.
be down. I love musicals. I think this is meant to be funny, but it's actually horrifying. Was my
Wait,
point
I
that
had
was
one
trying
thing
to
that I
make.
wanted to say. I'm sorry
no.
about the elevator
okay.
part. I kept trying to say it over and
I
over.
thought
and
that was
That's
a
where we're
joke.
at.
I
We're
thought he was
still-
cutting you off as a joke.
No, I'm not. This is real. This is real.
I'll drink some
I
coffee and
can't
listen to
remember
you
what I
have
was
to say.
going to say. No, I'm just kidding. So there is one line that completely makes the whole elevator shaft part worth it later on, which is that Pinback says, I was hanging there for 29 minutes. And I'm like, yeah, it certainly felt that way.
Felt that way.
And I'm like, maybe he's not even exaggerating, because Pinback doesn't seem like a guy who would exaggerate the amount of minutes that he was hanging there for. He would probably have
Very
like,
matter
looked
of
at the
fact.
watch.
That was
Computer, how
actually
long
the-
was I hanging there?
That was the length of time, like in real time I was
In the
watching. It
movie,
was
yeah.
29 minutes.
That's funny. Like it made me like be like, all right, that's
I don't know if
fine.
that's true. It
Because
felt
he,
like
I mean,
29
like,
minutes.
and he was holding on for a long time. I assume gravity is not as intense in space. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. But he was holding on for an impressively long amount of time, and also like spinning wing nuts to get the panel off and using one arm to pull himself
This
up.
is my critical problem with movies. No one. It's like everyone in movies can do pull-ups and hang by things in a way that 99% of normal humans
I would have
cannot
fallen.
do.
I was thinking about
And
that too. I
it's
would have fallen
just a thing.
immediately.
So many movies hinge on the like person's ability to do a pull-up.
There's a
I've
whole
been-
movie, but it's called
this is one
Cliffhanger,
thing-
starring Sylvester Stallone, where he's just
This is
So
one
there's a
thing
whole
that
movie about it, but like watch every movie. Okay, bye everyone. It's been nice. Hello. So there are so many movies in which
Sorry. Me and Jason had a kiss for a second.
it's
Yeah, we
okay.
had a
All
Asian kid.
all the boys are here. The gang's all here. I'm not alone.
Oh, Crystal Skulls, so many of them. Wow.
Why
not? I guess
not to like brag about my own body, but surprisingly strong upper body,
9 inches.
weak as fuck lower body. Like my legs are the
Hang
weakest
for
thing.
29 minutes.
I can hang for a very, very long time. A very long time.
If you had to save
I can also like
Ray,
climb a
would
tree
you
with
be
just my
able
arms.
to
Just my
do-
arms. Like easily. Maybe
Then you're
not
pretty-
as I mean, it's been
you're
a
in the
while since I've
1%.
tried, but like not even that long ago, I was still able to do it.
You're pretty light though. Like, what do you weigh? 200 pounds?
I weigh less than 200 pounds.
That's
Yeah.
not
But-
light.
I weigh 165 pounds, I think.
Jesus Christ!
Soaking
I'm
wet.
more
Soaking
than-
wet? No, that's like what I actually weigh, I
Mm.
think. But
I'm
yeah,
saying
like,
you look like a weenie, is what I'm saying.
I'm a weenie.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you
I weigh
can hang.
165 pounds below the waist, if you know
Hey,
what I'm
yo.
talking about over here.
9 inches from the ground. You know what I'm saying?
I weigh
the first
165 pounds. No, that's not true. I weigh 162 pounds.
Oh, you guys would be able to
We
fight
should
each other
fight.
in the
No, I'm just
octagon. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're the same weight
do it.
class.
No,
Let's
my
fight in the
arms are-
Octomom. We'll get inside our uterus and we'll fuck each
My
other
arms
out.
are a little too short, so that's my
To
problem.
box with God.
Yeah. She goes and opens up. We get inside her, and then we fight.
So fucking bizarre.
Yeah.
The,
Fighting in the Octomom? That's a
I don't want to
two-parter.
be inside any.
I need to write that one down actually because there's something there.
Fighting inside the Octomom. I
Look,
can't
let me
remember
tell
what
you
it.
what's happening.
Oh yeah, it was just the joke where he says I was hanging for 29 minutes, and I was like, "That's funny." It makes the rest of it funnier, that I was like having to endure him hanging onto the elevator for so fucking long.
So the alien goes into the malfunctioning laser. It fires the laser. It causes the bomb to drop again, and then we get another two computers have a chat, and the bomb is like, I was told to do it, and the computer's like, listen, I'm telling you, you were not told to do it. There's a malfunction. And he's like, okay, I'll go back up, but this is the last time. And it is. We'll find out later why. The laser has sustained damage. I posit this is the main plot of the movie. And again, the Cap is just like prattling on.
Wait, Jason, you posit that or the movie posits that? I think the movie posits it.
I think the movie posits it. It cuts to the Cap still talking about his surfboard. Talby's just like, I'm done with this. Pinback, back to Pinback. He finds the hatch. He's like hanging by one hand. This is the part I can't get over. He's like unscrewing the hatch while holding on with one hand. He climbs up into the elevator.
As a 165-pound man with extremely good arm strength, no problem.
Easy. In fact, next week on the show, Steve's going to do a live demonstration.
Grip strength.
Steven, I don't doubt that you have good upper body strength and can probably hang for quite some time, but not in the movie way.
No. If I was like sliding down a cliff and had to grab on and hold, I'd be fucked.
Yeah. Or if you fell and then...
Though I will say, one time, I was on like one of those inner tubes and the person like went crazy and it flipped over and everybody fell off. And then it was like sputtering upside down. And then what they saw was this. The hands come up. Myself back up onto the tube.
Perfect.
They're all like, and I was like, yes. I have strong hands and knuckles or whatever the fuck. I didn't like it. I was underwater, like being dragged by the one thing I was holding onto the entire time. I didn't let go.
I used to be strong back in the day. No one remembers this, but it was just me and Mark left, not puking or lying down the thing. We were the only ones left in the ring on multiple occasions because we weren't puking or dying outside of the ring.
Also, I've been working at home.
I'm not talking about anything. I don't know what you're talking about.
Me puking at every fucking class, every single time.
Oh, you guys puke every time you work out?
When we were in wrestling school, I would go too hard and then I'd puke.
That seems crazy.
See, I would go too hard and never puke. Instead, I did irreparable damage to my body in other ways, but that's a different story.
You're like, I puked out my butt. Yeah.
I need a colostomy bag. No, that's too far. I think that's too far, Jason. He manages.
Yeah, that was my nickname in high school.
Colostomy bag. Ew. He's too fat to get through the shaft. Steve, of course, would just slenderly get through that shaft.
Was he too fat or was the shaft just too small?
I think it was not meant for human to go through it. Like that's
right.
Why do we have to body shame him?
Yeah, because Dan O'Banion's got a sick body.
That was the comedy of the era.
Yeah.
Telephone's out of order. They do the telephone stuff you guys talked about. They play the Barber of Seville. And now the elevator thinks he's trying to clean it. And the plate's going to disengage from the elevator and explode.
I do love
which
that
it does.
The computer
but he survives.
I love that the computer tells him that the phone's out of order. Like the computer is there to be like, sorry, out of order. He can't be like, computer, tell somebody I'm trapped in
That's
here.
also something. Like all of these things are from something or have been used somewhere afterwards.
If there was only 4 people,
it's the source or not.
If there was only 4 people on this whole ship, who's using the elevator? Why is it even going? Like, why is it even moving?
I mean, the elevator also made me be like, how big is this fucking ship? Because the ship seems so tiny.
It's like Pingu's house.
Yeah. Or like one of those fucking tents from Harry Potter or whatever. Yeah, it's like you go inside and it's humongous.
Newt.
What, you don't think about Pingu on the daily?
Pingu is my Roman Empire.
Every single morning I wake up and I go, and I go in the shower.
I think about the fish that he ate, but the Christmas pies, like the pudding things that they ate, looked so tasty.
Yeah. And then I start making dinner and I do the Pengu's mom voice where she's like, and then the dad is like,
that's what they called me in high school.
Pengu? Oh, they called you Pengu's mom, or they called you hey, how's it going? And
and they're like
Pingu's little
they're like
sister
slapping
was
you, and you're like, stop,
adorable.
stop.
Stop it. Stop calling me that. I don't get it.
It was the teachers too that started it.
It's true. The gym teacher specifically.
Are we just 20 minutes into the movie? 2.5
No,
hours?
no. We're good. We're good. It's a short movie.
We're
There's a
getting
lot.
close to the end. Yeah.
Yeah. The Pinback's on a mission to find the alien. He tries to trank the alien.
He popped.
Now go. Now it's time to go to sleep, you worthless piece of garbage.
I think that was probably supposed to be a worthless piece of shit, right? Like, you know, when you watch something and you're like, that should be shit. It shouldn't be garbage. Maybe
this whole town is one big chicken waiting to be
I've
plucked.
called people garbage before.
Yeah, but it seemed out of place here. But I guess his character is also sort of, again, by the book or whatever, right? So maybe he would be like, curse words are not permitted on the Dark Star mission.
Here's a theory. The video diary that he's...
A what?
So, the video diary that he's using that says, like, it automatically gets rid of rude gestures and rude language. Yeah. What if this whole movie we're actually just watching it through the technology of the video diary?
I would love that. If it was all security camera footage and stuff, like that would be so cool.
Yeah.
Maybe a remake films it like that, or does like a mockumentary style even. Would be fun because of
that would be an interesting way to remake it and still sort of like maintain the strangeness of it and the low budgetiness of it, because you would have the locked off cameras and only have like a certain amount of sets. That's a good idea. Noel.
And you know that what you're watching has been edited by the automatic computer thingy.
Yeah, right. And that would only letting you see certain things, but it would be like the government watching it, and like it's in like a court testimonial. Like, you know, that guy at the beginning, and he's like, and these are the last files of the Dark Star project. And then it's like certain images have been redacted because we are unable to show those. And then so there'll be like sequences that are like completely blank being like removed for like
when he's chasing the alien around.
It's like, or like one image clips in and then it clips out. That would be such a fun idea.
Man.
You're welcome.
It could be like this, where there's three or like a whole bunch of different images, like security monitors at once, like playing at the same time. So like if something uninteresting is happening, it goes down, but then it comes up and it's a beach ball being like like moving through a hallway.
We're remaking the movie right now. It's 1-to-1.
Let's call Johnny Carpenter.
Call up Johnny Carpets. That's what they called me in it. It's cool.
They called me,
and you'll never guess why.
Yeah, a bunch of dullards.
Yeah, that's the word of the episode. If we were on a Friday night, we'd drink every time we said it. That's a weird callback. The Pinback tries to tell a story to Doolittle, and Doolittle does not care about anything but the dinner that they're eating. He hates chicken, wants ham. Talby finally comes down from it, and this is he goes to the computer room, but it's Pinback's telling the story of how he became
in that scene.
Man.
While they were eating, I was thinking, why doesn't Talby come down and eat with them? And then the guy said, why doesn't Talby come down and eat with them?
Yeah.
And I just enjoyed that moment where
it is nice when that happens.
Very rarely does a movie answer your question immediately.
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Well, he just likes the bubble.
It up there.
Yeah, he likes the observation bubble.
I love standing outside when I'm walking my dog. I lose a bunch of time in the winter when it's like lightly snowing because I love staring up on a clear day and just looking at the stars and feeling like the magic and trying to find Cassiopeia, trying to find like Orion's belt and other stuff. And I'm just like, so I totally get that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like standing there and it's super dark and I'm like, it's just beautiful. Like, it's fucking beautiful.
And people are walking by you and like, that person keeps saying it's fucking
I'm like,
beautiful. Yelling. And you're like, Orion, where you at, brother?
I do. And I'm like, where
I like
is
that
it?
you're doing that on that background too, because it looks like he was floating out in space.
It looks like you're in
Orion's belt. Right.
Maybe I'm this guy and you're the Talby. I'm the frozen guy. Yeah.
I'm all the idiots combined.
I think I am the Talby.
Yeah. I'm this frozen man.
You're frozen man, and
I'm the guy who got killed by his own chair.
And you're the alien.
I'm the alien.
Yeah, full of hot air.
Heyo.
Heyo.
That's the worst thing anybody's ever said to me. Our old co-host called me a fucking piece of shit. So that happened.
Jason, I've known you a long time, and I don't think I've ever called you that.
No, not I said our old co-host.
I know, but I'm saying
Yeah,
when
no,
I
you
was sorry, when I was
called me a
8 years
fucking
old,
pervert many times. But
oh yeah,
That's
you
true.
are.
I am. Yeah.
I calls him like I sees him over here.
When I was 8 years old, my grandmother said that I spoke too much and said nothing of value.
Mm. Wow. Did
You
that
should have
affect
said you're
you?
gonna die soon. You old bitch.
You old bitty.
I don't think
She
any
never
of my
made me
grandparents.
cookies.
My
My
God, that's
actually
the
one
worst
of my
atrocity.
grandparents once one of my friends came over and yelled at him and said, "Do you have a girlfriend?" to him, and he was like, "Yes," and then he said, "Good, good," and I was like, "Oh, my grandpa's scared I'm gay," and I was like,
I understand the
better not bring
implication
my
of this.
boyfriend over, I guess.
Right.
My grandfather was kind of losing his anyway. I had a sweet 16 where I had to wear a dress and was forced to do all of that, and he was kind of losing his mind at the time and thought that I was getting married and started weeping in the corner because he was like, she's too young to be married. Meanwhile, I was like having a horrible time because I got shoved into a dress. Absolute nightmare.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah.
When I was 5 years old, I had my first existential crisis. I realized I hadn't chosen to be born, and I couldn't understand how someone could be so cruel as to give consciousness to another being.
That's what happens.
That's a lot for a
Me.
6-year-old or whatever.
All the time.
5. Oh my God.
I don't have any form of religion. I don't have any form of religion to like fill in the dots, to fill in the spaces even. So I just live with that around the clock.
I have a religion. It's called Professor X's School for the Gifted.
Just 1 second of it. Perfect. My favorite part of this movie is this point here where it's revealed that Mr. Bill Frug was just wandering around. He had some other job and he put a spaceship on to go or put a space
He was
suit
a mechanic,
on.
right?
Yeah, he was like a mechanic or something. And he put a suit on
He
to
went
go
to
like
fill a fuel line or something.
yeah, and some sergeant was like, okay, get on the ship, you're going on the mission. And because his voice communicator wouldn't work, he couldn't tell him that he's this different person. So he ends up as Pinback. So for 20 years, he's just been Pinback. And he's like, but the suits fit wrong, the underwear are too big. I think that is hilarious. I think that's a really funny
I think, doesn't he say the underwear is too small? Or is it
No, it's too loose.
It's too big.
Too loose,
It's too loose. Yeah.
Too loose. I've seen this movie once, guys.
I mean, I've seen it twice and with a 20-year gap. So, like, I mean, it's not that much of a flex. I think, see, this story to me, I didn't understand it as much as I think I should have. Where I'm like, oh, he wasn't supposed to be on the mission. There was a moment where when he's doing his diaries that I was like, have they all lost their minds and their identities? And like I thought that was like
because the guy was like, what's my first name? Wait, what's Talby's first name?
Exactly,
what's my first name?
What's
But
my first name?
here's my theory that this guy isn't
You're what?
actually not. My theory is that Pinback is actually Pinback, and he's telling this funny story to like get the, because he says it's a joke, and he says he's making like comedic. Why would he be telling the story about some other guy committing suicide and him taking over and being accidentally like?
Yeah, if it's
a practical joke and he's a practical joker, what if he is Pinback?
The only thing that I think goes against that is that his very first diary entry is him being like, I'm not Pinback, unless he's been doing the bit for 20 years. Like that was his first thing he ever did was a bit. He's like, I'm gonna pretend I'm not me. It's like while he's shaving his beard off.
But that camera edits out a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I assume that was supposed to be
a clown.
curse words. He's a clown. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing that I like about this kind of film is that we can't know. and all theories
We
are
can
open.
know I'm wrong, and it's probably the other thing.
This is also the part with the
He does
his
change drastically
testimonial.
over the years to the point that he's like so upset that they don't like him. And like, you know, I understand this feeling of like, you know, trying to make somebody laugh and then it gets crickets, and then somebody makes a shitty comment, and then you know, ruminate on it for fucking 3 weeks, and then you come back and you're like, so I'm gonna try again, and then you just like start from scratch. And you don't tell anybody that thing that happened hurt your feelings, but it did. And like, I'm like, is this a pinback? Am I a pinback? Maybe I am a pinback. I don't know, but I think maybe everybody's a pinback.
They don't remember their own names, but they remember the last time Pinback told that story.
Mhm.
Yeah, they also remember.
So it has an impact on them, at least.
It has a pinback on them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of Pinback in this because it shows him 19 years ago, the video of when Powell died, and the gag with the swearing cutout is part of this. Pinback talks about not liking others and because they missed his birthday. Like that all happens at this point too.
That just reminded me of Rocky Horror Picture Show again. They didn't like me. They never liked me.
Yeah, I think.
And then the Rocky Horror, like the joke of this movie is that they'll never actually see those tapes and they won't be sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like nobody's ever going to see these tapes because by the time they get back to Earth, everybody's going to be dead on Earth.
Also, is there a time they go back to Earth? Like, we don't even know that they're going to go back.
The tape is on the ship, and the ship went to kaboom.
They got blowed up.
Right. That's true. Yeah. Spoilers. So they make it to the planet.
Sorry. This 45-year-old movie that no one has seen. I'm so sorry for spoiling it, guys.
Listen, I mean, within the context of this episode of Hey, did you see this one?
Sorry.
We hit podcast.
We also don't know they're all dead. Also, there's a lot of debris, guys, and it seems pretty intact. Maybe those discs got out.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's the only one that survived this. They're
not even
back
discs;
to Earth.
they're tapes, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Imagine, like this is before they even realized a disc.
The scratched in My Diary that looks like the writing from Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Yeah, and
the thing.
And they hold it in frame for so long, like it's gonna take you that long to read it. Like you're like, we got it. It
reminds me of those old movies where they would just show you the letter that the person has written, and they would just film the letter for a while and let you
have to read the whole letter.
Yeah.
Like black and white movies.
It's two words, and they hold it for too long. I was expecting it to be like diary, my diary. Like he would have like a voice come in and be like, my diary, like later. Maybe that's part of the remake. You know, they hold it up for too long.
I can still hear you guys. The kid's awake. 1 second. Keep going.
Feed it its iPad or whatever. So they make it to the planet. They're about to bomb it. There's like a 20-minute timer, which basically kind of becomes like real time almost, which I thought was an interesting thing. Telby's in the airlock. This is when I noticed that the design of the costume, the design of the spacesuit was really cool. It kind of reminded me of Dead Space a little bit. The spacesuit from the Dead Space video game.
Yeah.
It had like abs on it. I'm wondering if that was a joke, like the weird abs on the front of it.
I don't know, but I think the entire movie is meant to be a joke. So if you found something funny, then yeah, it was deliberate. You know, like I think that's the thing about these types of movies is that like everything is kind of meant to be a joke. So anything that you do find funny it's there purposefully. You know, like you're not just laughing at nothing. Better because like sometimes I'm laughing at stuff and I'm like, no one's laughing, but I'm like, no, the whole movie is supposed to be funny. Like everything is a joke.
That's the thing about when you get into the headspace that this movie is meant to be a comedy, you just try to find things funny, and then you got to get into the vibe. When I first started watching this movie, I was like, that's not funny when you were telling me that you were chuckling along with it, but then I got into that headspace and I started just
I mean, it even took me a minute, and I'd seen it before. But I was also kind of like, I saw this once when I was 18 and I did not find it funny.
I did not find it
funny. But I also I
interesting.
recognize that I have aged many years, and I'm like, my sensibilities and what I found funny when I was 18 is nowhere near what I find funny now. And going into this, I was like, I'm just going to kind of like let it hit me, run over me, and see what I do find funny. And the stuff that I found funny, there were points where I was like, it was inexplicable. I'm like, this is so funny. Like when the chair thing where I'm like, you guys didn't find that hilarious when he's like, he died because his chair malfunctioned. I'm like, that's so fucking funny.
Yeah,
okay. I was just like, what? And then like as soon as that Looney Tunes song starts, I was like, excellent. Like everything after this is going to be funny no matter what because this song is playing. And I started to like think about like, imagine they remade this movie, right? And like the trailer is just that song.
That's like, just that song with like
the Figaro. It's just like, hard cutting to like weird shit happening on this spaceship where they're chasing an alien and there's a bomb that's like, I need to blow up. I have to. It's my only.
Who directs a remake of this? Do you have like an Apatow or like a Paul Feig?
No. I think. I don't know. Like, I don't really have like a favorite comedic director, like.
Or like Sam Raimi.
Sam Raimi would be good.
He should be so lucky.
I think I direct it.
Yeah, we give it to Steve Waters, a new up and coming director.
No. I'm just joking. I think that maybe an unknown, maybe give it to like a startup to be like, can you make this funny? And if you can, let's do it. But I mean, I guess it has to be heavy. But I'm thinking like more like, what do you think who should the voice of the bomb be? Like what would be a funny voice of the bomb?
Bill Hader.
Bill Hader would be very good.
Or what's his face? The British guy. That's
Matt Berry.
Arizona. Matt
No.
Berry.
I think he's too. That would be too much because he's already too many things, right? Like,
or maybe Matt Berry is just one of the characters. Maybe he's like Boiler and doesn't say very much, and that's.
Yeah, I think Matt Berry is one of the characters on the ship. Yes. Yeah. And I think Bill Hader is the voice of the bomb, but he's doing a Matt Berry impression. And Matt Berry is not.
Why do you sound so familiar?
Matt Berry is not doing his crazy voice that he
I'd also
does.
take Ricky Gervais as the bomb.
Or Stephen Merchant.
Or Jermaine Clements as the bomb.
Jermaine Clements as the robot, voice robot. Or I guess you still maybe need to have a woman somewhere in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
I guess there has to be a woman. I think that...
long as she's just a disembodied voice, we're okay.
I think for me, the woman character should be like... who's that lady who played Brienne of Tarth from Game of Thrones? What's her name?
Oh, yeah. I can't remember her name, but I know who you mean.
She should be the guy who's like shooting shit all the time. Like she should just be like
Boiler.
Yeah, she should be Boiler. She should be walking around like ripping off like manhole covers and shooting them with guns. And people are like, you can't do that. And she's like, I'll do what I want to do. Like,
the computer should be played by Roseanne Barr.
Oh my God. Isn't she a Nazi now or something?
I would never want that.
Yeah, she's a Nazi.
I believe she's a controversial figure, is what I would describe.
Rosie O'Donnell, though. Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh, yeah.
Because I thought she was going to suck later in life, but she's one of the voices of reason in Hollywood now.
Who's not dead? Because, like, Angela Lansbury.
Not dead.
And,
New Matlock.
Yeah.
What's her face?
Olivia Colman. It should be Olivia Colman as the computer.
Or Olivia Wilde. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, get Whitney Cummings in there to play all the characters.
Hey, who should direct this movie?
The Rock.
Olivia Wilde.
Bryce
Olivia
Dallas
Wilde.
Howard.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I liked Booksmart. I think she's funny.
Like that cake, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm sorry.
Or what's her name? Leslie Headland? Is that her name? Leslie Headland. She would be good to direct this, I think.
Angela Bassett.
Well, we're naming female directors.
I was gonna say, are we just Greta Gerwig?
Yeah,
I mean, that's your favorite. Yeah, I mean, you know what? Actually,
if her and Noah Baumbach did this, it would probably be really good. Because they managed to find a way to interpret it in a way that no one else would think to interpret it, like they did with everything, like with Little Women and Barbie and like I would actually love to see.
I wonder what it would be. Would it be like it would
be like a choir of 1,000 unburied single fathers singing in unison, or a podcast with two trees?
Two dullards talking to each other. Yeah,
Is
or
that
like
that's a
you know when
reference
they
to Barbie,
your
right?
your theory of them blowing up intelligent life.
Nobody knows what it would be.
They've actually been sent on a secret mission to make sure that they destroy planets that like have predominantly like masculine tendencies.
Like an incel. There's an incel planet and a
planets, yeah.
Do you know who I wouldn't want to see direct this movie?
Quentin Tarantino.
Joss Whedon.
Joss Whedon. Joss
Yeah.
Whedon and Quentin Tarantino.
It's like I want to do an all-female cast, and like Joss, no women are allowed near
It
you.
would
you
one.
can't
It would
be
be
near anybody.
no. He would make it so quippy.
Yeah.
This
So
movie's not
quippy.
about
Like
quips.
Avengers
There's
all over
there's
again.
almost no quips in this movie at all.
I was thinking of Justice League.
Yeah.
Oh, Zack Snyder's Dark Star. Ugh. That's our show for this week. Ugh.
Nobody was talking about Zack Snyder, Jason. You're the one that did that.
No, Noel mentioned Justice League.
The Joss Whedon one. I think Zack Snyder's was better than Joss Whedon's, to be honest with you.
I was thinking,
But I mean, Zack Snyder clearly just wants to fucking bone dudes
Himself.
Or
Sorry.
maybe himself. Yeah.
it's all the characters are self inserts and they're all fucking each other.
Yeah, Zack Snyder just wants to self-insert into himself. That's all he wants to do.
Zack Snyder's movie making career, to me, can be illustrated by that scene in American Psycho where he's just watching himself while
In the mirror while he's
banging
banging the prostitute.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, I agree.
I like that. That's a better.
I also
movie
don't
than
hate
most
all of his
those
movies, but I do hate some of his movies, and I think I hate a lot.
I like
of his
300, but even a broken clock can be right twice a day, and that
We're doing
movie's
Sucker
not
Punch month.
good.
We're watching Sucker Punch 4 times.
No, we're watching it 30 times. We have to watch it every day, and we're going to do a podcast on it every day.
See if anything
Say it
changes.
again. Mufasa.
So let me move the plot ahead because we're getting lost in the sauce a little, I think.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, we're getting
It's
lost
okay.
in Zack Snyder's sauce.
I think it's objectively funny that Talby's trying to save the day. He's clearly the hero, and they just are like, shut up, and they turn off his comms. Like, stop it. We're dealing with something up here. And he's like, actually, I found the problem. The communication laser is broken. They're like, whatever. Get out of here. He ends up trying to test the laser. He blinds himself with it. Then he walks through the laser, even though the computer's like, do not walk through the laser. And it explodes. The crew's
Thank
up
you
top.
for taking all precautions.
Yeah.
And they don't know any of this is happening.
He walks through it by accident. He doesn't do it on purpose.
No, I know, because he's blinded in a classic.
Because he uses a screwdriver to tighten it or something. I can't remember what he's like. I'm trying to change the trajectory of the beam, and I didn't really understand why.
He puts it into he puts it into test mode, and it shoots outwards to like test the laser.
Yeah,
But that's not when he blinded himself.
it is because he twist it and it like and
It
he's
like goes.
my eyes.
Yeah, he did whatever the space 70s version of putting a fork in a toaster is.
Yeah, I thought he was trying to change like a rubber washer on it or something, and he like accidentally broke the washer, and it shocked him in his eyeballs.
This is
So I
my
guess-
dog.
Hello, dog.
It can't hear us. Well, maybe it can because of its supersonic hearing ability that dogs have. Right?
Your
Is that
dog
science?
has supersonic hearing abilities, doesn't it?
Is your dog Crypto or whatever? Yeah, Crypto. That's the dogs from Superman.
Yeah. Crypto
Loves
can be friends with the crypto keeper or whatever.
Keeper. Oh man, I can't wait to see what you draw for that. And also stay tuned for the plug section where we unveil a new t-shirt. But I guess they have to drop this bomb, but it won't disengage, which I think is great. This is sort of like the final stretch here. They can't get it to cancel. The computer's broken. The bomb will explode. The computer's like, I can get this bomb to explode only in a 1 meter diameter. And they're all like, well, we're still fucked if that happens. So we got to go. Powell wants to talk to the dead.
It's a 1 mile radius, I think. Like, it's a huge amount.
What did I say?
Meter.
Oh, I meant to say mile. Sorry. It's 1 milliliter.
Oh, God, that
500
explosion
milliliter
nearly
bomb.
came close to us.
Also,
500
they didn't have
milliliter bomb
meters
from
in the
Helldivers.
70s.
That's true.
Yeah. They still
didn't
don't
know
have
what a
them
meter was.
south of the border. Down Mexico Lane.
Sorry. 1 kilometer radius. which is what I thought I said. Doolittle has to go talk to Powell, who apparently, as we find out, is cryogenically frozen, but has all these little wires attached to him. So he's like
He's
alive.
the Central Intelligence.
He's dead.
Yeah,
he's also dead. Like it's like
he's
he's
dead,
talking to
but
a corpse. Yeah,
they've rigged him up to be able to still have some sort of
it's the
sentient
future.
thought.
You can plug stuff into a brain and still talk to it or whatever.
But it goes from a very horrifying realization that this is basically like a disembodied voice in a corpse, which is horrifying to me, to like him being like, so how are the Dodgers doing?
Yeah.
Tell me, how are the Dodgers doing?
And he's like,
Like,
they
well, they
Dodgers?
broke up years ago.
yeah, they broke up like 9 years ago. And he's like,
15.
Oh, shit. Well, okay, so how are you?
I love that he's like,
What's going on? Like, I
So
don't
that
know.
was the scariest, intensest part of the movie, was him not like them being what's his face being like, no, the bomb's gonna the thing, and he's just like,
Oh,
And the computer being like, 6
I
minutes to
forgot.
detonation.
And
yeah.
he's like, did you try recalibrating the coupler?
yes, we tried that.
Oh, I see.
I forgot.
And then he gives them
many
The piece of
things.
information he
So
requires,
many things.
but it cuts
I'm
out.
dead.
He cuts out for a second. He's like, oh, it's like, I didn't hear you. Can you repeat that? He's like, I have forgotten what I just said.
Just
Anyway,
give me a minute. Give me a minute.
Yeah.
And he's like,
we don't have a minute.
Hold on. I can remember.
So he couldn't have known, but this is what buffering felt like in the
Yeah.
early aughts.
it reminds me of like the
Waiting
it-
for
it-
for something
The thing
to
is,
load.
this is like a movie that is written, and it felt like, Jason, when I send you those Gotham radio things, like Gotham radio, like it sounded like someone being like,
just give me a.
I don't know, hold on. Like it sounded like somebody improvising lines. It was like, this is a little bit.
Well, do you know what it
much.
sounded like? John Carpenter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Carpenter is not an actor, but he is an actor in the
I
Invisible
liked-
Man movie as the helicopter pilot.
It's like a helicopter pilot.
I liked this sequence too. Do I just have bad taste? Like,
No,
No,
it's
I
a good
liked
sequence.
The
It's
sequence
good.
as well. It went from horror to comedy in like 2 beats.
It's
I really enjoyed
it's
the
spooky
juxtaposition.
because he's scary to look at, but the
He's
more he talks, the more you're like,
spooky.
oh, he's not gonna. It's not like he's gonna crack out and be like,
Give
I
me your
just-
brains.
I just like when he was like, I've forgotten so much. I was just like
that's scary.
moved. Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked that part.
It's a real bubble thought, like the bubble at the top of the ship is the same as the frozen man at the bottom of the ship.
This
Well,
whole
he
movie is
basically-
just shower thoughts.
Yeah,
It's just
This
segments
movie
of
was
shower
probably
thoughts.
a shower thought in the first place. Where Dan O'Bannon was like, what if it was like an office comedy but on a spaceship? And
what if
then all
a
these
bomb
wacky
had a
things-
mind?
Every
Yeah.
every scene is it's its own shower thought. It's like just a collection of non sequiturs that create a movie.
Yeah, I like that. That's true.
I mean, we've
That's
done
my
many movies
theory.
like that.
Dude.
Oh. You're what? I don't remember why I'm here.
I've forgotten so many things.
Oh, it tells him to teach the bomb
All your bomber belong to us.
phenomenology.
Phenomenology. He goes like something.
Phenomenology.
Something
Like a
It's a
phenomenology.
phenomenon.
And then he goes intergalactic planetary.
I like my sugar with coffee and cream.
Phenomena. Do, 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 do.
Okay.
All songs that work for the remake, people. The remake.
The jukebox musical.
Imagine like when he's in the elevator and it's like doo, doo, like he hits the button and it's like doo, 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 doo. Like that would be such a good, doo, 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 a good
which was
elevator
probably
song.
a huge hit at the time because it would have been around this era. But
And
then
instead of
Muppets
Figaro,
debuted.
what's playing is that Carly Jepsen song.
Call Me
Instead of
Maybe,
the Barber of Seville. Yeah.
Yeah.
and all the other boys.
This
So
is
anyway,
crazy.
Doolittle goes outside to have a conversation with the bomb. He basically gives it the old "I think therefore I am" speech, and they have a back and forth where the bomb determines that nothing is proof that I am real or not real. And then it's like, I need to go think about this some more. It goes back up into the ship. And will this stop
that's
the bomb?
That's when Pinback and the other guy are fighting each other, and the one guy is like, I'm just gonna shoot the rivets out and do the thing.
Right. It's like, you're gonna shoot the bomb and blow us all up. They struggle while Doolittle talks to the bomb.
The most idiot. He's the most dullard of the four.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. So when Doolittle tries to get back in, Talby gets thrown out the airlock, which I thought was objectively funny.
It is funny because he's in there trying to fix the laser still.
Yeah.
Like they're like, we're beyond that, man.
And the computer was like, when you're in the airlock, remember to wear your thing because later in the movie, somebody might eject you from the airlock.
Exactly.
Just so you know, yeah. There's a tether right next to it, and he just forgot about it, I guess, or he's like, I'm one with the tether. It's already attached.
Every single time that she said, thank you for taking all safety precautions, they were not doing the one thing. And that was funny to me.
It's great.
I wonder if in the remake she would like not say it, or like she would demand that they do it until they do it, and then she would say it afterwards. Also, Tilda Swinton maybe as the voice of the robot.
That's actually perfect. I think that's
or maybe
I still prefer Olivia Colman.
I think or maybe like Amy Adams, like an American, because it's like an American.
She can do anything.
Yeah. I've seen her in that new thing recently that she was in, and I'm like, I'm very on board with Amy Adams' trajectory. I think that she's doing like a thing that like not a lot of Hollywood actresses do, which is cool.
Or get Ira Fisher, who is unrecognizable from Amy Adams. They're the same person.
Who?
Isla Fisher.
You love what? Fishing?
Yep.
Oh.
Isla Fisher looks exactly like
something like a phenomenon. When he's on the elevator and he's pressing all the buttons and it's like intergalactic planetary.
So Doolittle's gonna go get Talby. The bomb ignores command citing it only listens to itself now. Then it starts quoting the Bible, but he's the God in this. Basically says in the beginning there was darkness and yada yada, let there be light. And then it fucking explodes because the bomb basically self-actualizes as a god.
So I wonder if in this moment,
which is fantastic.
The writing was like, I think they intended for him to accidentally teach him Cartesian doubt instead of it just being like actually like I'm going to teach you it. I think like through his reasoning, he accidentally taught it this form of philosophy, not realizing what he was doing, and all he did was
I believe that is the case.
Yeah, and all he did was like delay the explosion because he was like the bomb is like, I need to go think about this for a second, which is also very fun. Like the bomb being like, give me a minute. I have to go back in and think on what you've said.
The Dark Star was the friends we made along the way.
So did they only use 20 bombs or like 19 bombs before that? And this was bomb 20, or did they use randomly deployed numbers of bombs?
I don't know. I didn't really see how 20.
I mean, they launched one earlier in the movie, and I didn't really pay attention to what number it was.
I think they said 19. Like if I was,
we can assume that it's sequential. Yeah,
I would say.
Or they went, like 78. 19, 20 for some reason.
The first one they launched was 69.
Hey, and then 420, man.
They're like, so we're gonna launch bomb number 1, and the Captain Powell's like, no, guys, hear me out. 69, and everyone's like, woo! And they like,
everyone's like, nice.
Their button flicking or whatever, and then
launching
in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. God, I really like that too when he's like keeps freaking out about it, but he like goes back into like announcing the numbers the same way every time. It's that's funny shit.
There's something kind of funny about this motion in general.
Having to pull 2 keys as one person, it's like just make it one. If you like you have to do it with 2 hands, like
one switch that hits 2 things even.
Yeah.
The end of this movie is like a part of the philosophy of it all. Doolittle and Talby are just sort of floating, realizing that this is the end. Doolittle's sort of floating towards the planet they were going to blow up, and he's like, well, I'm going to burn up in the atmosphere. Or Talby says, you're going to burn up in the atmosphere, which is, a pretty good way to go out. If you could go out anyway.
Falling star.
Falling star. And then the Phoenix asteroids appear, and Talby floats into those, and he's like, I'm floating, I'm starting to glow, which also kind of beautiful. And that's
I think that like in this moment, it's like the two sort of like reflecting ideologies of these two characters, which is like the one guy is floating out into space, an endless voyage, and the other guy is going to fizzle out and burn and die. And he's like, that's beautiful, man. And he's like, no, I can, there's another way. There'll be another way. I'll figure it out. As this debris is floating past me, there's going to be a way for me to get out of here.
I have a theory.
Yeah.
That the ending.
Hold on. You have a what?
Play the thing. You have a what? What is it?
Theory that the ending is just 3 philosophies about death. Like 3 different ideas, like heaven, the existing forever in the stars, hell, burning up into the atmosphere, and then the atheist, nothing, of the guys who blew up.
Who exploded.
Right. They're gone.
It's pretty good. And all of that is probably from the literary short story that Steve said that they kind of
the Bible
ending from. And also the Bible.
No,
yeah.
The short story known as the Bible.
Well, part 3 is a literary short story. The Book of Mormon.
Right, yeah. They're like, this is the tiny version.
Look, I
also wear this special
I have
underwear.
7 wives.
I have 2 Bibles in front of me right now.
I have 2 sets of Mormon underwear in front of me right now.
You are just 6 Bibles wearing a trench coat, is what I've heard about you, Noel.
This is the one holy Bible.
That's the illegal Bible with color.
This is another holy Bible.
Now that's a Bible I can get behind. And fuck, no.
Did you bind those yourself?
Pansexual on the back.
The pansexual Bible.
It's I put it on because I'm a funny guy. There are 2 different translations of the Bible.
Translating, elating. The film was a major influence on Red Dwarf, I heard.
Oh, that makes
Whoa.
Yeah,
What was
what?
Before we get to that, I was looking at my phone where I have Twitch up to monitor the chat, and it just was. I was like, "Am I hallucinating?" But what we have to do now is, Noel, since you haven't been here in a while, we've actually combined the Home Alone of it all and Final Thoughts, because people think that the Home Alone of it all can be intimidating, yourself mostly. So I like your pose. I like your stance. Wide stance. Got to keep it wide. Sorry, that's not funny anymore.
No, now that he's a maniac.
Now that he's just taking pictures of himself and JD Vance going, listen, what we can do now.
What are we talking about?
Donald Trump. We can do
Donnie Dumpy.
The Final Thoughts and Home Alone of it all. Home Alone of it all.
The Home Alone of it all?
All of it.
If you had to pick one,
what do you think the Home Alone of it all?
When is the Home Alone of it all?
Can someone please tell me when the Home Alone of it all?
I really gotta know.
When is the Home Alone of it all?
What is the Home Alone of it all? Now that's the Home Alone of it all.
Can someone please tell me what the Home Alone of it all means?
I can.
Well, I'll tell you. Yeah, the Home Alone of it all is the idea that in the movie Home Alone, people are there to see Kevin McAllister slap down the blueprint and then go on a murderous rampage against 2 innocent, not so innocent, home robber criminals. I don't think they deserve what they got, but they get it. And also, we've amalgamated that section with our final thoughts and our rating. So, Steve, why don't you run through all of it just to show Noel how it works?
How it's done.
Okay. My Home Alone of it all for this movie is a little bit hard because there's so many different sequences and not a lot of them really work together. A lot of it is just like individual moments or interactions between the crew. So you can't really pick one that is like, this is when the movie begins. But if I had to pick one, I think it's probably pinned back when he is trying to reach for those buttons. It's when the movie kind of like became something a little bit more from what it was. The humor up into that point was not hitting as hard for me, other than he died from his chair. Like, what the fuck? His chair killed him? That's funny. But this is when I'm like, okay, this is a humorous movie. But if I had to choose a close second, I think it's when you realize that Tally is like, fuck this guy. He's not. They're having a conversation, but they're both just having a conversation at each other and not actually having a conversation with each other. They're both talking about their interests, but they're only talking about them for themselves, and they're not reflecting on what the other person is saying, which is such a real thing to me, you know? Yeah, I think that's going to be my choice. My main choice is the two of them talking in the bubble.
And then your final thought and rating.
My final thought is that this movie is going to be difficult for many people to watch that aren't either into the genre, into early filmmaking, into John Carpenter, or into science fiction. All those things are very important, and I think you need to like all of them to be able to like this movie. That's not to say that you're not going to like big bits and pieces of it, but you're not going to like it as a whole. You're gonna zone in and out. You're not going to pay attention. You're going to look to your phone to be like, well, what does this movie even mean? But
this feels targeted.
It's all about you. No, I'm targeting both of you. I'm targeting you both equally. But also I'm targeting myself, because I also found myself reaching for my phone at times, being like, I wonder what TikTok has to offer right now. And I'm like, no, you have to watch this. You have to watch this. But it's not bad. It's not bad, but it's not something that I would, again, I said this early in the show, it's not something I would recommend to really like 80% of the people that I know. It's something that I would recommend to a very small percentage of people. But if you like weird old stuff, and you like science fiction, and you like dark humor, and you like shitty special effects, then you might like Dark Star. But also, if you just want to be a completionist and see everything that John Carpenter has made, then you should watch it. And for a rating, I'm going to give this like somebody was blowing up a beach ball, but they ran out of breath like 4/5 of the way there, and then it started to deflate because he forgot to put the plug back in. Oh, thanks everyone.
Your finger click. Yeah. Well, thank you, Steve.
The Addams Family House.
Addams Family Polly Pocket. I clocked it immediately. Is that branded Polly Pocket?
Immediately.
Noel, your home alone of it all, your final thought, and your rating, please.
I didn't come to this movie to see anything, so there is no home alone of it. No. I still don't know what it means, but I definitely wanted them all to die about as soon as I met all of the characters. So I guess the bomb exploding and killing them all was the thing that I was waiting for.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
That's good.
Like the first time it came down, it's like, oh, the bomb's gonna kill them all.
I like. I'm in
waiting, and then it comes out the second time. Ratings. I think it's just the thing with old movies. Like the same thing with while I was watching it, I was like, okay, I need someone. Is this like Barry Lyndon, where it's a good movie, but it's going to be the most boring movie I've ever watched? Like, is it one of those things like a technical marvel or like a first thing, but I just won't be able to sit through it? Because that movie, Barry Lyndon, was so long and boring that I forgot to return my video rental because I forgot I had ever watched it.
You're like, oh man, they lit the movie by candlelight. What pervert did this?
Yeah. Exactly. No, like that's what I meant. Like, am I supposed to think this is a good movie? Is a question I have to ask myself sometimes. And it's just because of the sensibilities or what I'm used to or all of that. And especially going into this, like, that's not what I thought a John Carpenter movie would be. It's fine. It's just not a movie.
It's a student film that got bloated into theatrical length. You're not wrong about that. Like it's 100% like a thing that shouldn't really be a movie, but it's also something that springboarded many other things that we love.
And that's totally fine. Like there are some directors that like come out the gate with like their best thing, and then they just like nothing's ever going to be as good as the best thing that they did that first time. And like to see this kind of thing, it seems like the more normal trajectory. Like your first movie is not going to be that good. Like In the Heights is not Hamilton. Like
right.
It's just that's musical
Yeah.
stuff.
Watchmen is not Sucker Punch. Duh.
Yeah, but Dawn of the Dead is pretty good compared to Sucker Punch. I'll say that much.
I was making
what even like
I was also making a Zack Snyder joke. So
yeah,
Dawn of the Dead.
His first movie is way better than Sucker Punch.
Chris D'Elia is in that technically, but they cut it all out and put in
when they realize he's a pervert.
He's a sex pervert. Yeah.
But like I can't quite put my foot on it. What this movie is, but it's not a movie. It's a sketch comedy show. It's a too long Monty Python scene.
It's an 80-minute SNL sketch from the 70s.
Yes, it's just not a movie. So if you go into it thinking this is not a movie, this is a student film, and just like, then it's fine. You just have to preface that when you tell someone to watch it.
I think about the scene where he's shooting the lid of like the heat sink or whatever, and it's like that's a skit in something that
when he's dragging it, that's a skit.
Yeah, it's funny. But you're like,
all the guys sunbathing for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's just it's not a movie. And that's why I had such a hard time talking about it, because it's not a movie. It's completely like it's one of those undescribable things that like you kind of have to watch it. Like the beach ball alien, like show it again. That doesn't even really like give you what that beach ball alien was, you know? Like
its movements are what's funny about it. Like the fact that it's just there is like whatever.
The
but
part
like,
where it's really a person wearing gloves using the like using
it's
the
like
weird gloves as its hand feet.
70s sensibilities, old Star Trek, Doctor Who had a baby, and that baby is this not movie. That's my rating.
Right.
Okay. Great.
I thought your rating was going to be like me trying to drag a heavy lid to a wall to make a point, but I can't quite shoot it with my laser gun.
Also a great rating.
You're a bad shot. It was planted payoff, though. I'll give it that.
It was bad.
You need to sit with this movie.
Right. Well, thank you, Noel. That's some good insight there. I can't disagree with you. I can't disagree. I think that's apt. For me, my home alone at all this week was just my favorite part of the movie was the alien chasing cat and mouse sequence, and the movie kind of ramps up, like Steve said, around the elevator sequence too, when the things that are funny are objectively funny, not like, is that funny? So
yeah, when he's pressing all the buttons, like, oh, it's like tin, tin, and you're like, oh my god, there's so many musical options.
I felt so far. I see you.
The only thing that scene was
Directed by
missing was
Michael Bay.
to press a button and for it to be like the tar and feather button or he like gets the automatic like sanitizing foam cleaner like like on
Now
him, and then he
cleaning
comes out
elevator,
and then goes with like the feathers that are in his mouth when the elevator opens.
I mean, they should have done that. Yeah.
Thank you.
More bubbles would have been better. Yeah.
My final thought is overall it's a very interesting concept and a fun, almost horror at times. It definitely shows its age and its budget, but there's enough here to keep it interesting. Great score that brings out a lot of tension to the weirder scenes. I give it a 3.3 out of 5. Pretty high rating for this student film, I would say, but I enjoyed it. Like I just like had fun watching it. It was weird and stupid and just like a couple of teens making a teen comedy. A couple of 20-somethings making a 20-something comedy.
I figured out who the computer should be.
Me.
Miriam Margolyes. Do you guys know who she is? She played Professor Potts in the Harry Potter movies, but she's now this like weird old like British woman who just runs around being like, I don't really love anything. I'd rather just fart and eat onions my whole life. Like she's just like
wait, sorry, who played who?
Professor Potts in the Harry Potter movies.
Who's Professor Potts?
She's like the gardening teacher who's like, put your fucking screaming leeching thing into the pot. And
Professor
like,
Sprout?
Mandrake?
Professor Sprout, sorry, yeah.
The one who says that all you people that are still holding on to Harry Potter need to grow up, you stupid little rats.
Her. Yes.
Her?
Also, it's not J.K. Rowling also?
J.K. Rowling is also yelling transphobic stuff at the same time. Yeah, her, yeah. She would be funny. She would be funny as the voice, yeah.
I give this movie floating around the galaxy for all eternity in the Phoenix asteroids while your friend burns up in the atmosphere of a planet.
He surfs into it. That was planted payoff.
It should have had some surf music.
And a little bit of
sure. A song that wouldn't even be written for like 30 years, but yeah. This movie defies all logic. So time travel, fuck it. Let's get nuts. Now it is time on our show for our plugs. Plug some things.
Our plug.
All right, let me just plug this in right here and.
He died.
Well, I'm so glad there's people
just
watching.
Like Powell.
I'm so yep. I'm so glad.
We have him frozen in the back. He's like, I don't remember how I died. Can you explain it to me?
Well, me and Steve went to the backstage to kiss each other. We were also asking Powell
how the Leafs are doing.
Yeah, we're asking Powell for information about the Leafs. It's great that we have 8 people watching the show right now because it is time for our plugs. Noel, do you have anything that you'd like to plug this week? Or if you don't, do you have a message for the world or a birthday shout out?
I'm nowhere. Don't bother me.
I'm nowhere. Don't bother me. It's John Carpenter's second movie. He did the titles version of a song for that too.
Yeah. If anyone would like to hire me as a consultant to punch up this movie into a Lego sequel, I'm available.
I mean, I think that the three of us together could write a very good Lego sequel to this. It would be probably the guy in the crystals at the end flying through the space. He would be like, he'd find a new dark star, the dark star like 7 or something, or like maybe 8.
That's also just been out there the whole time.
Yeah. And they'd be
getting messages
still
from
bombing.
Just become sunshine.
We've only aged 3 years since the last Dark Star movie. That's 40 years ago. Shit.
Well, thank you for coming back on, Noel. You're welcome back anytime, and I will add this to your.
Yeah, watch this show, guys. When I'm not on it.
You have your own playlist on our YouTube, so this episode will be added.
Don't watch this one. Watch the
appearances. Steve, what do you got brewing in the old brewery?
I mean, as always, I'm the voice of Darth Theorist. What if Obi-Wan Kenobi was taller? What if Anakin Skywalker was shorter? we're doing pretty well. We just reached 25,000 subs, which is cool.
Wow. Holy shit.
But we also do the Three-Eyed Theorist, which is a Game of Thrones channel. If you guys like, what if Jon Snow was taller? What if Tyrion Lannister was taller? We just
What if Game of Thrones had black people on it?
It does. Lots of them. So yeah, that channel. Jason's now scouring his memory to be like, wait a minute.
I thought there was a whole thing where people are like, why are there no anyway?
There's another continent called Essos from Westeros that is full of black people, and that's what Daenerys Targaryen is doing, right? She's freeing all the slaves over there, and there's a lot of black people over there.
Oh, I remember now. Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Right, that whole.
Who do you think the Dothraki are?
Right.
Anyway. The Three-Eyed Theorist is the other channel that we do. We just reached 10,000 subscribers with that channel yesterday, which is really cool too. I do the narration. I also do all the voices for those channels. So if you want to hear me doing painfully awkward British accents for the Three-Eyed Theorist channel, you can watch that there. And if you want to hear me doing super good British accents for the Star Wars channel, which is cartoonish British accents, where they're like, how dare you come here without realizing that the rebellion is, you just roll your R's a lot. It's pretty great. But anyway, they're doing well, and I appreciate everybody who's listening to those. I love doing it, and I would love to keep doing it. So keep supporting it. Thank you.
Do that, you freaks. Gather around, freaks. It's time. Do you want to give yourself a round of applause?
Oh, sure. Becky doesn't believe in me.
No, Rory's reaching her expiration period on her interest in the iPad.
Jason,
give me what I want.
I would like to tell everybody about the show you're watching right now. It's called Hey, Did You See This One? You can find us each and every single goddamn week of my existence right here on Twitch and YouTube. You can find the audio episodes the next day. So usually it's a Friday where I put up an audio episode. I put up an on-demand version. I've been doing
nude episode, or
a nude episode.
Yeah,
we use AI and nude up our guests only.
Oh my god, Jason.
She's nudie.
Dogs are nude. All dogs are girls. All dogs are boys, and all cats are girls.
All dogs go to nudist colonies. All cats go to hell.
Go to hell, because they're spawns of hell, who I love. I would like to let everybody know that we're trying a new initiative here on the channel where throughout the week I just put reruns of our goddamn show up, and people can tune in and see old episodes. It's a little bit of exposure. We've been getting a lot of views on Twitch specifically from that. YouTube is a little bit more nuanced, but our YouTube count is way up. Thank you to all the new subscribers on YouTube. We're doing gangbusters there, which I love to see. I'm trying to get us monetized. Anyway, that's an inside my head thought. Like I said, every Friday the on-demand and audio episodes go up. We also have a TeePublic and a Redbubble where you can find lots of Steve's creations that are based off of funny jokes from the show. My creations.
Remember that weird science.
From my heart into my hand. Why can't people understand my creation? The Grimoire Familiar Killers is a shirt that you can get where you put this on a shirt and wear it and show all your love and devotion. We got Kill Aid. We came up with this masterpiece during our Friday the 13th episode last October.
Oh fuck! He's here. I summoned him.
I summoned him by accident. It happens. We also have Twinkerbell. Twinkerbell is having a hard time getting put on Redbubble. I think he's too hot for TV. But he is on.
This is me when I was at the party with the John Carpenter party. I was like, don't think I dressed appropriately, guys.
Why are you wearing a green bondage?
I thought this was an orgy.
harness?
Why are you wearing your wings? I just wanted to sparkle a little bit.
I thought this was the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah. New added just today, you can get Zardos on a shirt. Now you can ask all your friends how, why, who, what occurs. Doggo loves Zardoz clearly, and this is a world first. This is a unveiling. This is a debut. Tomorrow, I will be putting this great T-shirt that Steve created, toiled over a hot pen. I don't know how you do.
Yeah, my pen is real hot.
The Howie Mandela effect. This nightmare you can have on any color shirt you'd like. I wish we had put it on a tie-dye shirt. Really, I wish that was an option because that would just be an assault on your senses.
Can I commission the Frank Langella effect shirt?
Oh, they have to do a bunch of effects now. All of the effects.
Down. Frank Langella effect. Yeah, you can. Jella.
I did that shirt last night and I didn't know what I was doing, and I was like, I drew. It looks like Howie Mandel, doesn't it not?
It does.
It does. Yes. It's a perfect. Yeah.
It doesn't look like Professor X on fucking acid. Thank God. And I made the eyebrows pointy because like it looks funnier, you know.
Yeah, he's gonna.
I gave him Professor X eyebrows, but like Howie Mandel's eyebrows do not look like that. But I think I did.
He's also drooling. I think what's coming.
Yeah, well, he's going through. He's opening his third eye. You drool at that point,
right? And also, this isn't a shirt, but you know, every guest has to get teabagged by Zed. Sorry. Well, that's our show for this week. The we are card-carrying members of the United Fellowship of Podcasts. All the links to all the things I've mentioned will be in our YouTube video under part description. But I'll take care of the. Oh, we got 2 more comments here. Oh, here Tim's in the chat. Yeah, it does rule. Thanks, Tim. I like this idea as well. I'm with Dullard. But there is one last thing we have to do. I'll take care of the little ending bit here. Let me just find the tape cube it up. Hey, Noel, there's one question we have to ask each week on this show, and I would like you to ask that question right now. Well, make a joke or two. Tell everybody how to screw. This is a rap from the top of my head. I'm not a rapper, but I'm going to bed.
Whoa, that was so sick. Oh my God.
4 years ago.
Yeah, 4 years.
I can't believe it. I'm going to go to sleep dreaming about that rap, Jason. I can't believe you done did that tonight.
I'm going to cut it up. I'm going to put it on the internet. It's going to get infinity views. The first ever rap to get infinity views. I think that's good. Yeah. I think that's enough.
Just need beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.
It's nice to have you on the Drew Show, and welcome to Miss Cleo's special appearance.
You are both still very attracted to each other.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, because that's about the only talking you do is that pillow talk.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Outside of the bedroom, we're not having a conversation for each other.
Yes, ma'am.
You understand me?
Yes.
Because me see it here, the lover's card, and there's an outside person here by the Page of Cups that is causing turmoil there. Looks like it is on your side, and it is a male on your side.
Okay.
You know who that is, don't you?
Yes, ma'am.
You identified them immediately.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mind yourself. You understand me? Me always say, finish your food on your first plate before you go back and get a second plate of food, huh?
Okay.
Great call.
Find out the truth about your love life. Call me now for your free reading.
Call 1-800-329-9861.
Log on to mycleo.com and you could win a free trip to Florida for an in-person reading with me, Miss Cleo.